Chapter 2480. Chief Palace Master Yi? Why do you miss me so soon? Qin Feiyong looked at Yi Zhong in surprise. Don't play dumb. Did you kill him? Yi Zhong said in a deep voice. Who? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Yi Zhong said. The island master of the first island. What? The island master is dead. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Yi Zhong looked at Qin Feiyong, his eyes shining. Wait. No. Didn't the island master return to the Divine Dragon Island? How could he be dead? Chief Palace Master Yi, don't joke. Qin Feiyong said. However, he was secretly laughing in his heart. This divine general was really efficient in his work. Yi Zhong said, just a while ago. He was assassinated at the bottom of the stone stairs. It can't be. Who dares to kill the people of the dragons? Don't they want to live? Wait. Chief Palace Master Yi, you're not suspecting me, are you? I just came back from the Divine Technique Treasury. It's impossible to suspect me. Qin Feiyong said. The murderer is definitely not you, but it must be related to you. Yi Zhong frowned and said. I can't bear this accusation. Please let me go. As for the island master's death, what's the saying? Yes, yes, yes. Good will be rewarded. Evil will be punished. Heaven is fair. Those who deserve to die can't escape. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Yi Zhong frowned and said, let's not talk about this for now. When you killed Wang Darren and the other two, did you use the Fire Thunder Divine Technique and Wisdom King Golden Body? Qin Feiyong said with a smile, you're so resourceful. You can definitely find out. Yi Zhong said helplessly, it's chaotic outside recently. Don't run around. After saying that, he turned around and left. This kid was so young, but how could he be like an old fox, watertight? Thank you for your concern. Take care. Qin Feiyong smiled as he looked at Yi Zhong's back. After Yi Zhong left, a cold smile appeared on Qin Feiyong's face. Did he really think that he could return to Divine Dragon Island alive? Naive and laughable. However, this matter was not over yet. The best part was yet to come. Just wait and see. If I say I'll make you regret it, I'll definitely make you regret it. Immediately after, Qin Feiyong entered the ancient castle again, and continued to cultivate the Qilin art. In the square, Yi Zhong sat on the ground and frowned. He dared to conclude that the death of the black-clothed man was definitely related to this kid, but he couldn't produce any evidence. Suddenly, Yi Zhong took out an image crystal. Wang. A short while later, another white-robed old man appeared. He was the deputy hall master of the law enforcement hall. Big brother, is something the matter? The deputy hall master looked at Yi Zhong suspiciously. Yi Zhong said, come here first. All right. The deputy hall master nodded. Very soon, he landed on the square and walked in front of Yi Zhong. He asked suspiciously, Big brother, what's the matter? Yi Zhong asked, do you know what happened in the Divine Art Treasury? I just heard about it. This Li Buer is indeed quite capable. The deputy hall master nodded. But do you know? Just a while ago, the island master of the first island was assassinated at the bottom of the stone stairs. Yi Zhong sighed. What? The deputy hall master was shocked and asked, who is it? I don't know. This person's speed was very fast. When I ran down, he had already disappeared and erased the remaining aura. But I suspect that it must be related to Li Buer, but I can't find any evidence. Yi Zhong's expression was filled with helplessness. The deputy hall master asked, Li Buer went out? Yi Zhong said, it's because he didn't go out that I can't do anything to him. The deputy hall master frowned. Then it might not be related to Li Buer. Isn't it obvious? He was assassinated just after a conflict. Who else could it be but him? And at that time in the Divine Art Treasury, he also said something to me. Yi Zhong frowned. What? The deputy hall master was suspicious. Yi Zhong said. He said that I will definitely regret it. The deputy hall master was stunned. He shook his head and laughed. He even dares to threaten you. This kid is quite interesting. You're still laughing? Do you know that I feel extremely embarrassed right now? I was actually fooled by a little brat. Yi Zhong snorted angrily and said, go to the Nine Heavens Realms examination place now. Why are you going there? The deputy hall master was suspicious. Don't ask first. Let's see if there are any divine artifacts and divine arts there. As soon as possible, Yi Zhong said. Okay. The deputy hall master nodded and turned around to leave the Dragon God Palace. The two young people recruited this time are not simple, Yi Zhong murmured. Thinking of that listless but ridiculously strong young man, he couldn't help but have a headache. And now there was another troublesome person. It seemed that he would be busy in the future. 2 days later, the deputy hall master finally came out of the examination place with a face full of disbelief. Without stopping, he returned to the Dragon God Palace. Yi Zhong opened his eyes and asked, "How was it?" "That's strange. I turned the examination place upside down, but I couldn't find a single divine art or divine artifact," the deputy hall master said. Yi Zhong's expression stiffened and then said with a wry smile, "There's no need to think, it must be the work of Li Bu'er and that young man." The deputy hall master looked at Yi Zhong suspiciously. When Li Bu'er killed Wang Darren and the other two, he used the Fire Thunder Divine Art and Wisdom King Golden Body. But at that time I didn't see it with my own eyes, so I wasn't sure. That's why I asked you to go to the examination place. Yi Zhong sighed. The deputy hall master nodded and said speechlessly, "They didn't leave a single divine artifact. These two guys are a bit crazy. I'm afraid they did it on purpose." Yi Zhong shook his head and said, "From now on, you'll be stationed on the first island and secretly monitor Li Bu'er's movements." "What about that young man?" the deputy hall master asked. "Let's not worry about him first. I have a hunch that what he said about making me regret is definitely not just that," Yi Zhong said. "Okay." The deputy hall master nodded and flew to the first island. In the ancient castle, 2 days outside, 200 years had passed inside. Both Qin Feiyang and the Big Black Wolf had mastered the Qilin skill and the serious demonic book. However, a year had passed in the ancient castle, but the artifact spirits of the 4 divine artifacts still showed no signs of waking up. This made Qin Feiyang suspicious. Were the artifact spirits pretending to be asleep and looking for a chance to escape the ancient castle? But after observing for a while, he found nothing. Qin Feiyang was really impatient. He turned to Fire Lotus and stretched out his hand. "Give me the axe." Fire Lotus took out the axe and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang grabbed the axe and looked at the 4 divine artifacts. Whether they were pretending or not, he would know with a try. Clang! Immediately, Qin Feiyang then raised his axe and chopped towards the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts. Clang! In the next moment, the 4 heaven-defying artifacts unleashed a terrifying aura. They are indeed pretending. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. Fire Lotus hurriedly rushed to Qin Feiyang's side and looked at the 4 divine artifacts vigilantly. If these 4 divine artifacts were to awaken in the ancient castle, not only would it bring them a disaster, even the creatures of the Black Tortoise realm would be affected. Qin Feiyang suddenly waved his hand and the ancient castle's gate closed. Then, Qin Feiyang returned the axe to Fire Lotus, looked at the 4 divine artifacts, and said indifferently, "You are quite cunning." The 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts remained silent. "You have all fought with the ancient castle and know its strength. Even if you fight it head-on, you are not its opponent, not to mention now you are in its internal space. So let me give you a piece of advice. Don't do anything stupid," Qin Feiyang said. Fire Lotus suddenly understood. The 4 divine artifacts still didn't know that the ancient castle had been sealed by the small beast, so they would definitely be afraid of the ancient castle. Was Qin Dage not nervous? Perhaps. He was also nervous. But he couldn't show it, because once he showed it, the 4 divine artifacts would be suspicious. On the contrary, as long as he remained calm and collected, he would be able to intimidate the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts. "Don't do anything stupid? Qin Feiyang, don't scare us. Do you think we don't know that your ancient castle has been sealed by a small beast?" A voice suddenly sounded coming from the sunset bow. It was obviously the sunset bow's spirit. And Qin Feiyang was stunned. Fire Lotus also had a look of surprise. How did they know? During this period of time, no one seemed to have mentioned this matter. Oh no. Suddenly, Fire Lotus slapped her head. What? Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus suspiciously. It seems that one day when the three Black Panther brothers were chatting with me, I told them about the ancient castle being sealed. Could it be that you heard it at that time? Fire Lotus looked at the four divine artifacts and asked. That's right. At that time we had already awakened, the Sunset Bow's spirit said. Fire Lotus immediately looked at Qin Feiyong and blamed herself. Qin Dage, I'm sorry. It's okay? Qin Feiyong waved his hand, looked at the four divine artifacts and asked, then why didn't you take the opportunity to make a move? The Sunset Bow's spirit fell silent. Then let me guess. On one hand, you should be afraid of my slaughter domain, because you have suffered a great loss under my slaughter domain more than once. But I think that just the slaughter domain alone shouldn't be enough to make you so afraid. Because if you completely unlock the seal, then you have the ability to shatter the Black Tortoise realm and escape before I open the slaughter domain. You can even kill us, but you didn't do that and have been hiding in the ancient castle. Then I'll boldly guess the second reason. After these few battles, you might be wondering whether following the dragons was right or wrong. So you decided to stay in the ancient castle and secretly observe us. Of course, this is only my personal guess. Is that the case? I still need you to answer it for me. Qin Feiyong looked at the four divine artifacts and said. After a moment of silence, the Sunset Bow's spirit suddenly said, to be able to guess this, as the ancient castle spirit said, you are indeed an amazing person. What? The ancient castle's spirit? You communicated with it? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Chapter 2481. Fire Lotus was also extremely shocked. The ancient castle's weapon spirit had always been a mysterious existence. According to the time in the ancient castle, she had stayed in the ancient castle for at least hundreds of thousands of years. But in these hundreds of thousands of years, she had never communicated with the ancient castle's weapon spirit even once. Don't talk about her. Even Qin Feiyong had never said a word to the weapon spirit. But the weapon spirit of the Sunset Bow told them that the ancient castle's weapon spirit had communicated with them? How unbelievable was this? Your reactions have exceeded this sovereign's expectations. It seems that the ancient castle's weapon spirit has never communicated with you. The weapon spirit of the Sunset Bow said. What did it say to you? Where is it now? Qin Feiyong asked. All these years, he had wondered more than once if the ancient castle really had a weapon spirit. But how could such a powerful divine artifact not have a weapon spirit? So, this matter could be considered a knot in his heart. Now that he heard the weapon spirit of the Sunset Bow say this, he really wanted to know. The weapon spirit of the Sunset Bow hesitated for a moment before saying, let it tell you itself in the future. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. The weapon spirit of the Sunset Bow said, don't blame me. This is what the ancient castle's weapon spirit just told me. Qin Feiyong was startled. Just now it communicated with you again? Yes. The weapon spirit of the Sunset Bow replied. Qin Feiyong was extremely depressed. He was standing face to face with the four heaven-defying divine artifacts. Why didn't they communicate with him? All right. Qin Feiyong sighed helplessly and asked, what did he say to you? He said that you are a human worthy of our pursuit, and asked us to consider it carefully. So we pretended to be asleep and secretly observed you. The weapon spirit of the Sunset Bow said. The ancient castle? Qin Feiyong muttered. No matter where he went, the ancient castle was the one that cared about him the most. When encountering difficulties, the ancient castle would not hesitate to raise its level. Could be said that, in this lifetime he owed the ancient castle too much, and he couldn't repay it all. Qin Feiyong asked, what have you observed? I have my principles. You're good to people too. You're very calm in handling things. He's also very meticulous. His talent is also 1 in a million. To be honest, it's not bad, but it also has some fatal flaws. Sunset Divine Bow said. What flaw? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. First of all, you place too much importance on relationships. This will become a huge burden. Secondly, you are too young and your cultivation is too weak. Although there are many powerful methods, you must know that on the path of cultivation, one's own cultivation is actually the foundation. The artifact spirit of the Sunset Divine Bow said. I know. Qin Feiyong nodded. After pondering for a while, He said with a faint smile. Actually, what you said is not a flaw. No? The artifact spirit was taken aback. Yes. Although you are all heaven-defying artifacts and have the instinct to destroy the world, there are many things about humans that you don't understand. It is because you are too strong and have the strength to crush everything that these things are dispensable in your eyes. But humans are different. Humans are just born as babies. They don't know anything and don't have the strength to trust a chicken. It's your parents, your family, who protect you as you grow up. It is also their selfless contribution and hard work that you can gradually understand this world. When you grow up, you will have brothers, friends, and lovers. Everyone gathers together to face the unknown together, to overcome difficulties together, and to move forward together. So, whether it is the love of family, relatives, brothers, friends, or lovers, these are all part of feelings. And these feelings are like a line that connects everyone together. For example, Fire Lotus and I, although we are not related by blood, although she is stronger than me, we are like siblings. Another example is the white-eyed wolf and I. It is not only a beast, but also a wolf. Wolves are feared by everyone because in the world's impression, wolves are a cold-blooded and ferocious creature. But it and I are like brothers. Why is that? This is love, this is loyalty. There is also me, Gubao, Changshui, Lu Hong, Zhao Tai Lai, and the others. There are too many, I can't even finish talking. Isn't it because of friendship that we are able to come to this day? Since friendship has connected us and made us the most important thing in each other's lives, why should we give it up? No. This friendship should be cherished more. Because it is the most precious thing in life. No treasure or money can exchange for it. Qin Feiyong said slowly. As he finished speaking, a brilliant smile appeared on his face. He was a lucky man, because in this life he had met too many people and beasts who cared about him, and he also cared about them. The artifact spirit of the sunset bow fell silent. Let me put it this way. If it wasn't for friendship, I wouldn't have so many people around me. After Qin Feiyong finished speaking, he looked at the fire lotus next to him. If it wasn't for friendship, no one would stand in front of me and block the enemy's attack for me when I was in danger. Qin Feiyong looked at the big black wolf next to him. If it wasn't for friendship, I don't know how many times I would have died. So I, Qin Feiyong, would rather give up all the treasures and resources I have now than give up them and them. Qin Feiyong said. They of course referred to the fire lotus Zhao Tai Lai and the mermaid princess. And they of course referred to the white-eyed wolf, the big black wolf, Yu Huang, and so on. The artifact spirits of the 4 heaven-defying artifacts were silent. As for the cultivation you mentioned, I admit that my current cultivation is indeed very weak. But in this world, who didn't start weak and gradually become strong? For example, Longzuan. Was she born so strong? If Longzuan can reach this level, why can't I, Qin Feiyong, do the same? It's only a matter of time. I'm not afraid to tell you that Longzuan is no longer my target. Qin Feiyong said confidently. The artifact spirit of the sunset bow asked, then who is your target? The god of creation Wu Tian. Qin Feiyong paused after every word. His eyes filled with incomparable determination. The god of creation. Hearing these 3 words, the 4 heaven-defying artifacts couldn't help but tremble, as if they were afraid. I believe that in this world, no one would dare to have any thoughts about the god of creation, including you. Perhaps in your eyes I'm overestimating myself, but if you're not willing to work hard, how will you know if you can do it? After saying so much, I actually just want to express one thing. If you follow Longzuan, you can only struggle in the ancient world forever, and you won't even have the chance to see the sky outside. But if you follow me, perhaps I can bring you out of this cage. Although the chances are slim, there's always hope. Qin Feiyong said. The artifact spirit of the sunset bow said. This sovereign is very curious. Where do you get such confidence? Confidence comes from myself. You don't need to ask for it from anyone. As long as you have confidence in yourself, anything is possible. Qin Feiyong smiled. The artifact spirit of the sunset bow fell silent again. As for the artifact spirits of the other 3 heaven-defying artifacts, they didn't say a word from beginning to end. It was as if the artifact spirit of the sunset bow was their representative. Actually, it's not hard to think. Longzuan might be the strongest in the ancient world. But is she the master of the ancient world? She's not. As for the Black Tortoise world, although it's much weaker than the ancient world, I'm the master of the Black Tortoise world. The Black Tortoise world is also an independent world. Just based on this point alone, Longzuan can't compare to me. You don't need to express your stance now. Slowly observe. I believe that one day in the future you'll choose to stand with me. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. If it were any other young man, this sovereign would definitely say that he's conceited. But you, to be honest, this sovereign doesn't dare to say that. Because we've seen too many miracles from you. Alright, as you said, we'll stay here and continue to observe you. The artifact spirit of the sunset Bao pondered for a while and said. Qin Feiyong smiled. You can stay here as long as you want. The fact that the 4 heaven-defying artifacts chose to stay meant that they were interested in him. After saying so much, it wasn't a waste of time. In the future, when he completely convinced the 4 heaven-defying artifacts to join his side, his strength would instantly skyrocket countless times. And as long as the 4 heaven-defying artifacts stayed, it was basically a done deal. Fire Lotus had a hint of a smile in her eyes as she said, Then, did Longzuan bind you guys with blood? Although these heaven-defying artifacts were in the hands of the ancestral dragons, the true master was definitely Longzuan. Therefore, even if they were to bind, it would be Longzuan and not the ancestral dragons. Bind with blood? You must be joking. For artifacts of our level, who has the right to be our master? Even if it's Longzuan, he has to lower his status in front of us. Let's talk about it later. With our abilities, even if we bind with blood, we can directly erase the blood contract ourselves. The artifact spirit of the sunset Bao said domineeringly. What? You can erase the blood contract yourselves? Qin Feiyong was shocked. Of course. Therefore basically no one can control us. The artifact spirit of the sunset Bao said. Qin Feiyong frowned. Then wouldn't it be meaningless to bind with blood on the Grey Castle back then? The artifact spirit of the sunset Bao suddenly said. Since you're staying here, then I'll give you a piece of news. Qin Feiyong was slightly taken aback. Looking at the sunset Bao, he asked suspiciously, what news? The artifact spirit of the sunset Bao said. This news may be a blow to you. Speak. The thing I'm least afraid of is a blow. Qin Feiyong smiled. The 4 ancestral dragons, the dragon princess, the black dragons, the dragon god palace master, including the black dragon's 10th elder that you guys killed in the past, none of them will die. The artifact spirit of the sunset Bao said. What? Qin Feiyong was taken aback. His face was immediately filled with bewilderment. Chapter 2482. Not dead. Beside him, Hualien and Big Black Wolf were also stunned. The bodies of the 4 ancestral dragons and the black dragons were still in the castle. How could they not be dead? And the princess of the dragons was also destroyed. Even the 10th elder of the Black Dragon clan had his divine soul turned to ashes. Qin Feiyong had seen all this with his own eyes. And now he was telling him that they weren't dead? How was that possible? Was this a joke? The Sunset Divine Bao said. I'm not joking with you. They really aren't dead. That's impossible. Qin Feiyong shook his head. The Sunset Divine Bao said. I told you that you couldn't take this blow, but you didn't believe me. Qin Feiyong frowned and said. But what you said is too unbelievable. Do you know why Feng Daji left a wisp of his divine soul before he self-destructed? He learned it from the dragons. Ever since the rise of the Dragon Slayer Palace, any half-step imperishable divine dragon or above would split a wisp of their divine soul and place it in the Dragon Slayer Forbidden Land. This is to prevent them from dying in the process of fighting the Dragon Slayer Palace, the Sunset Divine Bao said. Split a wisp of their divine soul. Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled. So the 4 ancestral dragons were really not dead? As long as a wisp of their divine soul exists, they won't die. They just need to spend some time to reassemble their divine souls. The Sunset Divine Bao said. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice, Are you sure you're not joking with us? Is there a need to joke with you? The Sunset Divine Bao said. Not dead. After so much effort, none of them died. Qin Feiyong murmured. This result was too hard to accept. Qin Dage, Big Brother, Fire Lotus and Big Black Wolf looked at Qin Feiyong worriedly. Having followed Qin Feiyong every day, They naturally knew Qin Feiyang better than anyone else. In order to kill the 4 ancestor dragons, Qin Feiyang had made too many preparations. He had thought that the matter had been completely resolved, and he had revealed a victorious smile. But suddenly someone told him that no one had died. He had worked hard for nothing. No one would be able to withstand such a blow. Sigh. The artifact spirit of the sunset divine Bao sighed and fell silent. Qin Dage, it doesn't matter. At worst, I'll just kill them again in the future. Fire Lotus whispered. That's right, big brother. You have to be strong. It's just a small matter. It's not worth taking it to heart. The big black wolf was also trying to persuade him. Who? Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and looked at the man and the wolf. He smiled and said, "Look at how anxious you are. Am I that weak?" But just now, Fire Lotus and Big Black Wolf looked at him. It's just too sudden. It's hard to accept. Besides, this isn't a waste of effort. Qin Feiyang said and looked at the 4 heaven-defying legendary weapons. Although they didn't die, they still profited greatly because they obtained the 4 heaven-defying legendary weapons. Although the 4 heaven-defying legendary weapons hadn't made a clear statement yet, they already had that intention. Therefore, no matter what, the dragons were the ones who lost out this time. And he had gained a huge advantage. Fire Lotus and Big Black Wolf looked at the 4 heaven-defying legendary weapons and then at Qin Feiyang. Seeing that Qin Feiyang didn't seem to be affected, they heaved a sigh of relief. Qin Feiyang smiled. Seems like in the future, unless it's absolutely necessary, we should avoid fighting with them. Indeed. They can revive after killing them. There's no point in fighting with them. Fire Lotus nodded. Alright, you guys go do what you need to do. I'll go into seclusion first. Qin Feiyang faintly smiled, then turned around and entered the cultivation room. There was no need to keep an eye on the 4 heaven-defying legendary weapons. Bang! At this moment, a powerful aura descended above the valley. Qin Feiyang was startled. Libor, are you there? A hoarse voice was heard. This voice sounds familiar. Qin Feiyang mumbled and left the ancient castle. When he walked out of the cave, he saw an old man with white hair and a sage-like demeanor standing outside. You are? Qin Feiyang looked at the old man suspiciously. You've forgotten me already? I was the one who sent you to the first island. The old man smiled. You? After being reminded by the old man, Qin Feiyang immediately remembered and said, You're the vice leader of the disciplinary hall? Yes. The vice leader nodded. Qin Feiyang asked, Is there anything you need from me? Let me introduce myself. My name is Yi Cheng, and I'm the acting island master of the first island. I'm here to ask for the jade box that you took from the treasury 2 days ago. Ask for it. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. There was a reason for him to ask for it back? Vice leader, that's not right. We chose the divine arts ourselves. We also walked into the deity technique treasury openly. You can't ask us to return the supreme divine arts and legendary divine arts just because you saw us pick them. What's the difference between this and the actions of a villain? Qin Feiyang said. What? Yi Cheng was slightly stunned and said in surprise, You picked the supreme divine arts and legendary divine arts. You don't know? This time it was Qin Feiyang who was stunned. You picked the divine arts and you didn't open it at that time. No one saw it. How would I know what level it was? Yi Cheng was speechless. Then why are you here to ask for it back? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yi Cheng was startled and said with a wry smile, It seems like you've misunderstood. I'm here to ask for the jade box, not the divine arts, because the jade box is made of special materials. It's very precious. I see. Qin Feiyang came to a realization. It was indeed a misunderstanding. Speaking of which, if I didn't come here, I wouldn't know you found the supreme divine arts and legendary divine arts. It's the first time you and the big black wolf entered the treasury, right? Yi Cheng asked. Yeah. Qin Feiyang nodded. You found the divine arts on your first try. You're as lucky as Gufan from 1,000 years ago. Gufan also found the supreme divine arts on his first try. It was quite an uproar back then. Yi Cheng said in disbelief. It's just luck. Qin Feiyang smiled awkwardly. It would be exposed sooner or later, so it did not matter if he said it out loud. Yi Cheng asked curiously, What's the name of your divine arts? Qilin Technique Serious Demonic Book. Qin Feiyong said and secretly sent a message to the big black wolf, asking him to give the jade box to him. Qilin Technique Serious Demonic Book? I've heard Big Brother mention these two divine arts before. Qilin Technique is indeed a supreme divine art. The Serious Demonic Book is tailor-made for wolves. You and the big black wolf are even luckier than Gufan to be able to find divine arts that suit you so well. Yi Cheng exclaimed. It's a blessing from the heavens. Qin Feiyong smiled and took out the big black wolf's jade box. He also took out his own jade box from his universe ring. After that, he stepped forward and handed the two jade boxes to Yi Cheng. Yi Cheng put away the jade boxes and smiled. Luck is only part of it. You have to work hard for everything. Thank you for your guidance, Deputy Palace Master. Qin Feiyong bowed. He had a good impression of this old man. Whether it was the last time he sent everyone to the first island or this time, he did not put on any airs and was amiable. All right then. I'll go back to the duty hall first. If you have any difficulties, you can come to the duty hall to find me. Yi Cheng said. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. Yi Cheng smiled and turned to leave. Qin Feiyong watched Yi Cheng leave and was about to return to his cave residence. But at this moment, Hui flew out from the side of the valley. It was still Chao Dian. Qin Feiyong was stunned and said, When did you come back? Just now. I saw you talking to Yi Cheng just now, so I hid behind you. Hui said casually and then warned, You have to be careful of this Yi Cheng. Why? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Hui said, He's Yi Zhong's younger brother. Yi Zhong's younger brother? Qin Feiyong was stunned. This was really unexpected. One is called Yi Zhong and the other is called Yi Cheng. It's obvious. Hui pursed his lips. There are people with the same name and surname in the world, let alone just having the same surname. Who would think so much? Qin Feiyong was speechless. Anyway, you just have to be careful. Yi Zhong must have a purpose for letting him come to the first island. But the names of these two brothers are really funny. One is loyal, the other is sincere. But their loyalty is to the dragons. Hui sneered. Everyone has their own ambitions. Since you're back, I have some bad news for you. Qin Feiyong said. What bad news? Hui was stunned. The 4 ancestral dragons were dead, and the dragon's princess was also gone. What bad news could there be? Qin Feiyong said. The dragon's princess and the others are not dead. What? Hui raised his head and said, Say it again. They're not dead. Qin Feiyong briefly explained the situation. There's such a thing? Your sister. Isn't this playing with us? Hui was also indignant. But at the same time there's also good news. Qin Feiyong explained the situation of the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts. Fortunately, it's not too bad. Hui breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts were left behind, the problem would not be too big. He was just afraid that the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts would also slip away. Then it would really be a waste of effort. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, I also got a supreme divine art. I heard it just now. You and that wolf cub are really lucky. Hui's face was full of envy. Qin Feiyong asked, Then where have you been fooling around these days? The medicinal field. Originally, I wanted to see if there was a chance to rob them, but the person guarding the medicinal field never left. Hui said angrily. This matter can't be rushed. We have to take it slowly. Let's go. If there's nothing else, let's give the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts more thought. Maybe in a few days they'll agree to follow us. Qin Feiyong smiled inwardly and then took Hui to the ancient castle. What did you say? They got the Qilin technique and the serious demonic tome? In the square. Yi Zhong suddenly stood up and looked at Yi Cheng's shadow. His eyes almost popped out. Yes. Yi Cheng sat in the duty hall and nodded. Back then, Gufan also got a supreme divine art. And the two of them, in addition to a supreme divine art, they also got a legendary divine art. Their luck is too heaven-defying. Yi Zhong was speechless. Counting the divine artifacts and divine arts in the examination ground, this kid had taken a big advantage of the Dragon God Palace. Yi Cheng said, Then should we ask Li Bu'er for it? Ask? Yi Zhong was stunned. If he's loyal to the dragons like Gufan, Not only will we give it to him, but we'll also focus on nurturing him. But this Li Buer, big brother, to be honest, this Li Buer has no respect for the dragons, let alone loyalty. He might even become our enemy in the future. Yicheng said. This matter, Yizhong pondered for a while and said, asking for it will damage the reputation of the Dragon God Palace. This matter can't be taken lightly. I'll ask Longzuan first and see what she thinks. Okay. Yicheng nodded and the shadow disappeared. Chapter 2483. Yizhong stood in the square and pondered for a while before activating the image crystal. Buzz. Soon, a blurry figure appeared. Longzun. Yizhong bowed. What's the matter? Longzun asked. Yizhong briefly explained the situation. Li Buer. Longzun pondered for a while and said, go back and see the young man's reaction. Okay. Yizhong nodded. After following Longzun for so long, he naturally knew Longzun very well. In fact, the latter sentence was the main point. The most important thing was to see the young man's attitude. Was there a relationship between the two of them? After turning off the image crystal, Yizhong sent a message to Yicheng and gave him a few instructions. Early the next morning, whoosh! A young man descended in the sky above the valley. This person was 1.7 meters tall and had a thin body. His hands were behind his back, and he was at the 9th heaven greater success stage. He looked extremely arrogant. Glancing at the cave abode in the valley, the young man landed in front of the cave abode. Buzz! A light screen appeared and sealed the door of the cave abode. There's a barrier. The young man was stunned. He raised his head and waved his hand, causing the light screen to disintegrate. In the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang, who was sitting in the cultivation room, trembled slightly and a trace of blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. Right then, he suddenly opened his eyes and two cold lights shot out. Someone had barged into the cave abode. Whoosh! The next moment, he disappeared from the cultivation room. Cave abode. The young man stood in the middle and scanned the surroundings. After being in the Dragon God Palace for so many years, this was the first time he saw such a simple cave abode. He had never seen anyone lazier than this. But where was this person? Why didn't he see him? He was about to release his divine consciousness when Qin Feiyang appeared at this moment. Who are you? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. You're Li Buer? The young man asked instead of answering. Qin Feiyang said, it seems like I'm the one asking you? Barging into his cave early in the morning with such an arrogant attitude. He must be crazy. The young man said proudly, Yuda enforcer. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, can law enforcers break into other people's cave residence for no reason? What attitude? Do you know who you are talking to? Not only do the enforcers have the right to enter your cave residence, they also have the right to punish you. What's more, is this a cave abode? I think it's just a dog kennel. Yuda sneered. Doghouse. Qin Feiyang murmured as a cold light flashed in his eyes. No. But then, Qin Feiyang looked at Yuda strangely. Was there really something wrong with this person's brain? Right now, everyone in the Dragon God Palace knew that he had a supreme expert protecting him. Even the island master and Yicheng had to be polite to him. However, not only did this person directly barge into the cave, he even displayed an arrogant and despotic attitude. Where did his confidence come from? Yuda frowned and said, greetings law enforcers, why aren't you bowing? Bow. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He was completely speechless. It seemed that there was really something wrong with this person's brain. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule as he cupped his hands and said, greetings law enforcers. May I ask why you have barged into the cave residence? That's more like it. Yuda looked at him proudly and asked, where's that big black dog beside you? It's cultivating. Qin Feiyang said. Let it out as well. Yuda said expressionlessly. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, if you have something to say, then say it quickly. Impudent. If I tell you to call it out, then call it out. What nonsense are you talking about? Yuda shouted. Good. Please wait a moment. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, Hui, change your appearance. All right. Soon. Hui's voice sounded in his mind. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule. With a wave of his hand, Hui appeared. But it was still Chao Diyuan's appearance. Yuda looked at Hui, then looked at Qin Feiyong, and immediately said angrily, I told you to call that beast out. Why did you call a person out? Qin Feiyong sighed and said, Shut him up. Hui grinned, stepped forward, grabbed Yuda's neck, and immediately greeted him with a few slaps. Pa! The crisp sound of the slaps echoed in the narrow cave residence for a long time. Yuda was dumbfounded. He actually dared to hit a law enforcer? What shocked him the most was that this person's strength seemed to be stronger than his. Being grabbed by the neck, he couldn't break free. Bang! After a few slaps, Hui threw Yuda to the ground with a smile on his face. Yuda looked at Qin Feiyong and Hui in shock and anger. What about us? Qin Feiyong said with a playful smile. Yuda roared. Hitting a law enforcer is a capital offense. Capital offense? How do you spell this word? Can you teach us? Hui said. Yuda looked at the two in a daze. They weren't afraid at all? What was going on? Which person from the Dragon God Palace didn't look at the law enforcers as if they had seen a ghost? Hui looked at Yuda and asked, Are you sure you're a law enforcer of the Dragon God Palace? Nonsense. Yuda got up and angrily glared at the two. Hui said, So, you should have been in seclusion all this time and only came out today? How did you know? Yuda was shocked. He even knew that he had only come out today? Sure enough. Hui shook his head and smiled. If he wasn't in seclusion, how could he not know about Qin Feiyong? If he knew, why would he be so arrogant? Yuda looked at Qin Feiyong and Hui in shock. What the hell is going on? When did the disciples of the Dragon God Palace become so arrogant? Those who don't know won't be blamed. Say it, what do you want? Hui said. Still won't be blamed? Yuda was very depressed. Who was the law enforcer here? Say it. Hui looked at him impatiently. Yuda looked at Hui, and a sense of fear emerged in his heart. Under the orders from above, I'm here to take back the Qilin technique and serious demonic book. What? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Take back the Qilin technique and serious demonic book? He never thought that this person would come with such a purpose. Whose order? Hui asked. From above. Yuda said. Hui frowned. There must be someone above. Who is this person? It's... Yuda's face was a little embarrassed. It should be Yi Zhong. No. If it's Yi Zhong, he wouldn't have let you come. I think this person must be Yi Chang. He doesn't dare to come himself, so he asked you to sound me out first. Qin Feiyong said. This? Yuda didn't know how to answer. It was indeed Yi Chang who asked him to come. But he really didn't know what was going on. What was going on? Why would the Deputy Palace Master ask him to sound him out? Could it be that even the Deputy Palace Master was afraid of these people? But the Deputy Palace Master also had a backer. And this backer was Yi Zhong, the Chief Palace Master. With the support of the Chief Palace Master, what was there for the Deputy Palace Master to be afraid of? Yuda vaguely realized that this matter was probably not so simple, and he might really be cannon fodder. Qin Feiyong said indifferently, Go back and tell Yi Chang that I won't return it to him. Are you sure? Yuda was stunned and instinctively asked. Get lost. Qin Feiyong shouted. Yuda's body trembled, and he immediately turned around and ran out as if he was running for his life. Hui retracted his gaze and turned to look at Qin Feiyong, frowning. What's going on? You actually want to take back the Qilin incantation and serious demonic book? Does the Dragon God have such a rule that you can take it back whenever you want? I don't know. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Why don't I go out and ask around? If there is such a rule, it's fine. But if there is no such rule, then they are deliberately targeting us. Hui said. All right. Qin Feiyong nodded. Hui immediately rushed out. Qin Feiyong frowned. Yesterday when Yi Chang came, he misunderstood Yi Chang's words at first, and Yi Chang personally explained it. Why did he ask for the Qilin incantation and serious demonic book today? Yi Chang? Yi Zhong? This matter should not only be related to these two brothers, but also to the dragons. You don't like me that much? Qin Feiyong smiled coldly. Originally, Yi Chang gave him a good impression, but who would have thought that he was a two-faced villain? It was no wonder. After all, he was Yi Zhong's younger brother. How good could he be? When Qin Feiyong returned to the castle, the big black wolf immediately ran to Qin Feiyong's side and said, "Brother, I won't return the serious demonic book to them even if you beat me to death. Don't worry. You want to take back something that is already in our hands? In your dreams." Qin Feiyong sneered. "In the duty hall. What's wrong with your face?" Yi Chang sat at the tea table in the hall and looked at Yuda, who was standing opposite him in shock. "I was beaten up by Li Bu-er and his accomplices," Yuda said aggrievedly. Yi Chang was stunned. This kid was indeed not easy to deal with. Fortunately, he had been careful and did not run over in person, or he might be the one being slapped now. "Deputy Lord, although I am afraid of offending you, I still have to say that you are in the wrong," Yuda said. Yi Chang looked a little embarrassed. He coughed dryly and said, "Didn't I tell you to be polite to him? But you didn't say that he has someone protecting him. If you didn't make it clear, why should I be polite to him? After all, I am a law enforcer." Yuda lowered his head and felt wronged. "Even if I didn't say it, don't you know to ask around before you go? As a law enforcer, don't you know the principle of collecting information and knowing your enemy? Besides, you have been in seclusion for so long. Shouldn't you ask around about what happened recently as soon as you come out? In the end, you are too careless," Yi Chang said with a straight face. Yes, you are right." Yuda nodded repeatedly. He was truly suffering in silence, not daring to voice out his bitterness. Yi Chang chuckled and asked, "What did Li Bu-er say?" "He asked me to tell you that it is impossible," Yuda said. "This kid's courage is indeed admirable, but he neglected a fatal weakness. His divine soul is under the control of the divine stone of fate. It's too easy to kill him." Yi Chang smiled faintly. Yuda said, "Then just kill him. How can we keep such an arrogant person alive for the new year? Some things are not as simple as you think. In the future, you will stay here and help me manage the first island. At the same time, you can also find out about Li Bu-er's situation. It will surprise you. After you recover from your injuries, you can go again and ask Li Bu-er to come to see me," Yi Chang said. Yes, Yuda nodded. He really did not want to go to that place again, but he did not dare to disobey the deputy lord's order. No matter where it was always weak people like him who were injured. Chapter 2484. Half a day later, Hui finally returned. The news he brought back was that such a thing had never happened in the Dragon God Palace before. It was obvious that they were being deliberately targeted. The big black wolf said worriedly, "Big brother, the strong dragon cannot suppress the local snake. What should we do?" Qin Feiyong was silent for a long time, then said, "Since they are heartless, then don't blame us for being unjust." Finished. Qin Feiyong turned to look at Fire Lotus and said, "Give me some medicinal ingredients like the nirvana fruit, the more the better." Fire Lotus nodded, took out the universe ring, and began to organize it. "Big brother, what do you want to do?" The big black wolf looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong said, "Since I said that I would make Yizhong regret it, then I must do it. Soon." Fire Lotus gave Qin Feiyong a Qinkuan bag. Inside, there were thousands of nirvana fruit, thousands of nature fruit, and thousands of Mother Earth Chaos Divine Ginseng. Fire Lotus laughed. "I still have a lot, you can take whatever you want." Haha, Qin Feiyong laughed, then brought the big black wolf, left the ancient castle, opened the teleportation altar, and headed straight for the assignment hall. Assignment hall. Yuda sat outside the door, his eyes filled with shock. Half a day was enough for him to find out everything. He was extremely shocked in his heart. He never thought that the person who entered the Dragon God Palace this time would be so terrifying. A chief palace master whose strength was comparable to Yizhong killed Long Chong on the same day, and destroyed the body of the Dragon God Palace's hall master. The other one also had the protection of a supreme expert, who even killed the island master and massacred all the examinees. Even the second island master might have died at the hands of this person. Could it be that even the vice palace master was so fearful? Thinking about it, Yuda could not help but break out in cold sweat. Fortunately, he did not completely anger the other party at that time. Otherwise he might have already become a corpse. "I still have to invite him over, my head hurts." Yuda rubbed his forehead, stood up and took out an altar. Why would the deputy palace master keep such a person on the first island? Let him wreak havoc on the second and third islands. However, just as Yuda helplessly activated the altar and prepared to head to the valley, a man and a wolf suddenly appeared in the sky above the square. Yuda was stunned. Wasn't this Li Buer? Could it be that they were holding a grudge because of what happened in the morning, and now they were here to look for trouble? Thinking of this, Yuda shuddered. He hurriedly put away the altar and ran back to the conference hall. He looked at Yi Cheng, who was sitting beside the tea table and taking a nap. On the tea table there was a pot of boiling tea. That how Yuda count them? The deputy hall master laughed dryly to hide his embarrassment. Yuda immediately ran up, took the universe ring, squatted at the side and counted them. The deputy hall master pointed to the seat next to him and said with a smile, "Sit." Qin Feiyong said, "I'm just a small disciple. I don't dare to sit on the same level as you, deputy hall master. I'll just stand. There are no outsiders here." "It's fine," the deputy hall master said with a smile. "Then I'll do as you say." Qin Feiyong smiled and sat at the tea table. The big black wolf stared at Yuda counting the herbs, in case he did anything. The deputy hall master sat opposite Qin Feiyong. He poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of Qin Feiyong, saying with a smile, "Try it." Qin Feiyong glanced at the deputy hall master, picked up the teacup, put it to the tip of his nose and asked. The fragrance of the tea was quite ordinary. He tasted it again and the taste was not very good. Of course, this was only for him. He was used to drinking good tea, so this kind of ordinary tea was not very attractive to him. To ordinary people, it was indeed a top-grade tea. "How is it?" The deputy hall master looked at him expectantly. "Not bad." Qin Feiyong nodded. "I'm glad you like it," the deputy hall master said with a smile. Qin Feiyong sized up Yi Cheng and didn't say anything else. He just silently drank his tea. The deputy hall master was fine at first, but gradually he could not sit still and asked, "Little brother, the Qilin incantation and the serious demonic book. You finally can't help it." Qin Feiyong secretly sneered and said suspiciously, "Didn't I ask Yuda to tell you? Didn't he tell you?" Ahem. The deputy hall master coughed and sighed. "Actually, I know that it's very unfair for you to hand over the Qilin incantation and the serious demonic book, but this is not something I can decide." Qin Feiyong looked at him quietly. "I won't hide it from you. Actually, the person who ordered the withdrawal of these two divine arts was Lord Longzuan. You also know that Lord Longzuan is the strongest person in the divine land. Even Grand Hall Master Yizhong does not dare to disobey her orders." The deputy hall master said, "Lord Longzuan?" Qin Feiyong was shocked. It was actually Lord Longzuan who gave the order personally. "Little brother, I also know that you have a half-step invincible realm expert by your side, but I believe that you also know the strength of the dragons. A half-step invincible realm expert is nothing in front of the dragons," the deputy hall master advised earnestly. "That's true." Qin Feiyong nodded. "Since little brother knows this is the truth, why don't you be more straightforward? Grand Hall Master Yizhong also said that our Dragon God Hall can't let you suffer too much, so we are willing to give you 2 pinnacle divine arts as compensation," the deputy hall master said. Qin Feiyong was happy to hear this and asked, "Can pinnacle divine arts be compared with legendary and supreme divine arts?" The deputy hall master said with a smile, "Of course not. But it's better than losing everything." "Losing everything?" Qin Feiyong was surprised and said, "Deputy hall master, are you reminding me that if I don't hand over the Qilin art and serious demonic scripture, not only will I lose everything, I might not even be able to keep my life?" "Little brother is a smart person. I believe you can weigh the pros and cons." The deputy hall master didn't answer directly, but the threat in his words could be heard clearly. Qin Feiyong said, "Then I would like to ask, does the Dragon God Hall have such a rule?" "No." The deputy hall master shook his head. "Then isn't that right? Since there is no such rule, why should I return it to you? I didn't steal or rob, I took it out of the treasury openly. No matter how strong the dragons are, you still have to be reasonable." Qin Feiyong said, "If there must be a rule before you are willing to take it out, then let this old man tell you this rule is in place from now on," the deputy hall master said. Haha, in such a big dragon god hall you can change the rules just like that? Deputy Hall Master, you are too childish moreover. You don't seem to have the qualifications. Qin Feiyang laughed. You finally revealed your true face. Sure enough, you are a sanctimonious villain. Li Bu, this old man is already very polite to you, don't be too greedy. Although this old man indeed doesn't have the qualifications, as long as this old man says a word, Chief Hall Master Yi Zhong will immediately set this rule. The Deputy Hall Master snorted. Of course. After all, you are blood brothers. And Yi Zhong is also the founder of the Dragon God Hall. He has the final say in the rules. But you two brothers working so hard for the dragons, aren't you afraid of going down in history? Qin Feiyang joked. The Deputy Hall Master's face sank slightly. Yuda, who was counting the medicinal herbs, was also shocked when he heard Qin Feiyang's words. He actually dared to say such disgraceful words in the Dragon God Hall. Was this person really not afraid of death? Hurry up. The big black wolf urged. Yuda glanced at the big black wolf. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and continued to count the medicinal herbs. Chapter 2485. The atmosphere in the hall was a little heavy. Yi Chang stared at Qin Feiyang with an ugly expression. As the Deputy Hall Master of the Tribunal Council, although he did not have much power, he still had status. Coupled with his relationship with Yi Zhong, no one dared to be impudent in front of him. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Qin Feiyang drank his tea and smiled without saying anything. As for Yi Cheng's gaze, he chose to ignore it. Yi Zhong was indeed a terrifying existence, but Yi Chang was only at the peak nine heavens realm. He was not a threat to him. Phew! Yi Chang suddenly exhaled and said with a faint smile, one has to consider the consequences when doing things. For example, the Divine Stone of Fate. This threat was even more obvious. The Divine Stone of Fate? Qin Feiyang was stunned. When he came back to his senses, he smiled. This old man still did not know that he had already broken the Divine Stone of Fate contract. Ignorance was really scary. Wait, Yi Chang was Yi Zhong's younger brother. In that case, wouldn't Yi Chang have a lot of value? As his brother, Yi Zhong would definitely not ignore Yi Cheng's life and death. If he captured Yi Chang in his hands, or made Yi Chang surrender, and let Yi Chang persuade Yi Zhong, then would it be possible to make Yi Zhong abandon the dark side and join the light side? The Divine Stone of Fate is in the hands of Grand Hall Master Yi Zhong. If I send him a message now, what do you think the consequences will be? Yi Chang said with a faint smile as he drank his tea. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, then why don't you guess what will happen later? Yi Chang was stunned and immediately raised his head, looking at Qin Feiyang in surprise. I'll kindly remind you that what I hate the most is being threatened, especially by the dragon's lackeys. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Crack! Yi Chang exerted a little force, and the teacup in his hand immediately shattered. The more he spoke, the more ridiculous and excessive it was. Did he really think that no one in the Dragon God Palace could subdue him? Yi Chang immediately took out the image crystal. Looks like I have to make a move. Qin Feiyang chuckled. With a thought, Hui appeared. Bang! As soon as Hui appeared, he waved his hand and the hall's doors immediately closed. Yi Chang was shocked. Yuda's expression also changed abruptly. The big black wolf shouted, don't stop, continue. Yes, yes, yes. Yuda nodded again and again. He looked at Hui, his face full of fear. Li Bu, are you going to offend me? Yi Chang regained his senses and suddenly stood up. He stared at Qin Feiyang and shouted, offending my superiors? That's not right. You're on. No. You've always been under my feet. How can you say that you're disobeying me? Qin Feiyang smiled. Yi Cheng's face sank. Hui sat beside Qin Feiyang. He crossed his arms over his chest as he looked at Yi Chang. Hui was about to speak when a voice suddenly sounded from outside. Yi Chang. The few of them looked at the tightly shut door. Qin Feiyang said, it's Yi Zhong's voice. Big brother. Yi Chang came back to his senses and immediately turned around to attack the barrier. But at the same time, Hui took a step forward, landed beside Yuda and picked him up. Yuda couldn't react at all, and just like that, He lost the only bargaining chip in his hand, the big black wolf. Following closely, Huai caught up to Yi Cheng with another step, grabbed Yi Cheng's head, and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the group of people immediately disappeared, including the universe bag on the ground. The divine force barrier also quickly dissipated. Following closely, Hui silently appeared and erased the aura that remained in the main hall. Then he disappeared without a trace. Not long after, the door was pushed open, and Yi Zhong walked into the hall suspiciously, scanning his surroundings. Where is he? Big brother, I'm here. Hurry up and search with your spiritual will. In the hall of the ancient castle, Yi Cheng looked at Yi Zhong in the air and roared crazily. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and said indifferently, "It's useless, other than me. No one can hear the sounds from inside the castle. As for spiritual will, don't even think about it because I have the heavenly divine stone." What? Heavenly divine stone? Yi Cheng's gaze trembled. Just who was this person? He even had such a treasure? Outside, Yi Zhong quickly left. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the image disappeared. He turned to look at Yi Cheng and Yuda and smiled. "Welcome to my world. Your world." The two of them looked at each other in dismay, then looked outside through the gate of the ancient castle. Could it be that there was an independent world outside? Suddenly, Yi Cheng saw the four heaven-defying divine artifact floating in the air behind him. This wasn't the sunset bow. How is this possible? What? The four great ancestral dragons heaven-defying divine artifact. Why are they here? Weren't the four heaven-defying divine artifacts snatched away by Qin Feiyang? Yuda was also very surprised. Suddenly, their bodies shook, and they looked at each other at the same time. Gradually, a trace of fear crept up in their eyes, and then they slowly looked at Qin Feiyang. There was a thought in their minds that they never wanted to believe. Qin Feiyang and Hui smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang took out a facial restoration pill, threw it into his mouth, and quickly restored his true appearance. "It's really you." Yi Cheng's eyes trembled. He never thought that this arrogantly boor was actually Qin Feiyang. Yuda was so scared that he collapsed on the spot. Back then, after asking Qin Feiyang, Zhang Dafei had already secretly spread the news about Qin Feiyang. So now almost everyone in Divine Land knew about Qin Feiyang's deeds and appearance. This was a young man who gave the dragons a headache. Hui said discontentedly, Hey, I'm a little unhappy that you're ignoring me like this." He also swallowed an illusory form pill, and returned to his original appearance. "You're Hui." Yuda looked at Hui and said with a frightened expression. "Ah, yes, that's the expression. It's also a kind of pride to be able to make you dragons' lackeys tremble in fear." Hui laughed. "Hui, primary immortal." Yuda was desperate to the extreme. Why was he so unlucky to meet these two fierce people? So lively. This time, accompanied by laughter, Fire Lotus walked in with a mask on, not hiding her cultivation. Half-step immortal. As soon as Yi Cheng saw Fire Lotus, his face turned pale. It turned out that there was a supreme expert beside Qin Feiyang. Fire Lotus looked at Yi Cheng and said with a smile, "Actually, I appeared in the Dragon God Palace, but you didn't see it." "Appeared?" Yi Cheng was bewildered. Qin Feiyang said, "She was the one who killed the island master." "So it's you." Yi Cheng's pupils suddenly shrank. "Bastard, you dare to take the opportunity to sneak an attack on this emperor, and use this emperor to threaten Big Brother? You simply haven't died yet." The big black wolf roared and immediately pounced towards Yuda at this moment. Yuda's blood-curdling screams resounded. Qin Feiyang also ignored Yuda, looked at Yi Cheng and laughed. "Don't be nervous, follow me." With that, he walked out of the castle. Yi Cheng looked at Yuda, then hurriedly followed Qin Feiyang out. Fire Lotus followed beside Yi Cheng, preventing him from killing Qin Feiyang. Hui stayed in the castle and looked at Yuda in ridicule. Outside, Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus and laughed. "Go make me a pot of tea, I want to properly entertain Senior Yi." But, Fire Lotus glanced at Yi Cheng. "Don't worry. Senior Yi is a smart person. He knows what to do and what not to do." Qin Feiyang laughed faintly. "All right." Fire Lotus nodded and walked towards the courtyard. Yi Cheng looked at Fire Lotus's back and then looked at Qin Feiyang. He did have the urge to take the opportunity to attack Qin Feiyang, but he did not have the guts to do so. Suddenly, Yi Cheng looked at an empty space not far away, where a golden sea python was lying on the ground. Beside the golden sea python was the divine body of a golden dragon. That aura seemed to be. That's right. That is the body of the golden dragon ancestor. And that golden sea python is a sea beast king that I subdued in the inner sea. Right now, it is fusing with the body of the golden dragon ancestor. Qin Feiyang laughed. You're actually willing to let it fuse? Yi Cheng looked at Qin Feiyang in bewilderment. As a Peak 9 Heavens Realm cultivator and the Vice Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Palace, he naturally knew the benefits of the golden sea python fusing with the golden dragon ancestor. What's there to be reluctant about? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Then what about the bodies of the Fire Dragon Clan, Silver Dragon Clan, and Black Dragon Clan's ancestor? Yi Cheng asked. I don't know. It's all done by Fire Lotus. Qin Feiyang shook his head and asked with a smile, how do you feel about my Black Tortoise realm? Chapter 2486. Hearing this, Yi Cheng looked at the herb fields around him. Every stalk of medicinal herb shone brightly, and every divine tree swayed in the wind. The air was filled with extremely rich and pure souline energy and crystal vein essence. Could be said that only this herb field was not much inferior to the Dragon God Palace. Suddenly, Yi Cheng looked at a green divine tree not far away with surprise in his eyes. Qin Feiyang said, that's a tea garden. Tea garden? Yi Cheng was stunned. In other words, those were all tea trees? This kid was so young, but he had planted so many tea trees? Generally speaking, only people who were older would like to do such things. Fire Lotus helped me do this. Because I like to drink tea, she went through a lot of trouble to cultivate this tea garden. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Yi Cheng nodded and looked at Fire Lotus, who was brewing tea in the courtyard with a trace of envy in his eyes. Behind every successful man, there was a virtuous woman. This saying was true. I'll take you to another place. Qin Feiyang smiled and took Yi Cheng to the sky above the desert of death. At this time, the divine treasury was opening and countless creatures from the Black Tortoise world poured into the desert of death. These people, Yi Cheng was surprised. There were so many creatures in the Black Tortoise world? Although the strongest among them was only a monarch god, this scene had already far exceeded his expectations. This is a forbidden area in the Black Tortoise world, called the Desert of Death. In the deepest part of the Desert of Death, there is a divine treasury that was carefully arranged by Fire Lotus. Qin Feiyang waved his hand again and brought Yi Cheng to the sky above the divine treasury. The divine treasury was a 100-story tall tower. At this time there were already two people outside the divine treasury. The two were Pai Lupi and Theta Wang. Because their cultivation was the strongest, they were the first to arrive here. The two stood outside the divine treasury and looked at the closed stone door, their eyes full of desire. There are countless treasures in the divine treasury. They even have legendary divine artifacts. Furthermore, the divine dragon bodies of the Dragon God Palace Master and the Black Dragon Clan Patriarch are also inside. All kinds of divine pills and pill recipes are inexhaustible. There are even pill recipes that can open the door to potential and increase the cultivation of the war god. This place, to the beings of the Black Tortoise world, is a place filled with temptation and miraculous. And the person who gave them all of this is me. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. When Yi Cheng heard these words, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. A pill recipe to unlock the door of potential? This was too shocking. Pai Lupi Theta Wang. Qin Feiyang suddenly said. Below, Pai Lupi and Theta Wang were stunned and looked up at the sky. Their expressions immediately changed and they hurriedly leaped into the air and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. Their expressions extremely respectful. Qin Feiyang asked with a smile, how's your harvest over the years? Last time we were lucky enough to obtain the pill recipe for the potential pill and also a few divine pills. Pai Lupi smiled flatteringly. Last time we also obtained a pinnacle divine artifact. Theta Wang also smiled. Divine pills. Yi Cheng's heart trembled as he looked at Pai Lupi and Theta Wang in shock. There were divine pills in this divine treasury. Not bad, you actually obtained the pill recipe for the potential pill. Qin Feiyong was also quite surprised. It's all thanks to you, Lord. The two smiled respectfully. What does this have to do with me? Qin Feiyong looked at the two suspiciously. Lord, others may not know, but the two of us know that this divine treasury was created by you. You are the ruler of the Black Tortoise world. The two said. The ruler of the Black Tortoise world. Yi Cheng's heart trembled again. Qin Feiyong laughed and praised. The two of you are quite smart. You flatter us, Lord. Lord, can you tell us what the most powerful divine item in this divine treasury is? The two of them asked carefully. The most powerful? Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned and smiled. Potential pill, small creation pill, large creation pill, and various divine pills should be considered the most powerful. Potential pill? Small creation pill. Large creation pill? Pai Lupi and Theta Wang looked at each other and looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong said, these three pills are used to open the door of potential. When the two of them heard this, a trace of excitement appeared on their faces. In that case, as long as they obtained the pill recipe in the divine treasury, they could open all the doors of potential? Work hard. Although the two of you are currently the strongest people in the Black Tortoise world, the Black Tortoise world is no longer the Black Tortoise world of the past. Everyone is improving. If someone catches up to you, it will be embarrassing. Qin Feiyong smiled. Yes. The two of them replied respectfully. In addition, as the two giants of the Black Tortoise world, you should know how to create benefits for others. For example, the pill recipe of the potential pill. For example, some talented use. In short, don't be too selfish. Qin Feiyong said. Understood. The two of them nodded. Qin Feiyong's meaning was quite obvious. He wanted them to share the pill recipe of the potential pill with the living beings of the Black Tortoise world, and nurture the talented youths of the Black Tortoise world. Alright, you may leave. If something big happens, you can go to the Devil's Land to find the Fire Lotus. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and smiled. This humble one will take his leave. The two of them bowed, turned around and flew down. Black Tortoise world, ruler. Could it be? Feicheng looked at Pai Lupi and Thea Wang, then at the Shun treasury, and then at the Great Desert. An unbelievable thought gradually emerged in his mind. This Pai Lupi and Theta Wang were originally two guards of the Black Rock City. They were not well known. But now they have become giants. And their cultivation is much stronger than before. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and brought Yichang to the sky above the Netherworld Sea. The Netherworld Sea. At the same time, many people were searching for treasures and taking risks. Although schemes and killing were everywhere, only with these could a world be considered complete. If a world wanted to develop quickly, these were indispensable. Half an hour later, Qin Feiyong brought Yicheng back to the Devil's Land. In the courtyard, the fragrance of tea assailed their nostrils. Yicheng's eyes lit up when he smelled the tea. Obviously, he was a person who loved tea very much. Qin Feiyong walked into the pavilion, pointed to the stone bench opposite him, and said with a smile, Senior Yi, please take a seat. Yicheng glanced at the Fire Lotus beside him and sat on the stone bench. Fire Lotus also sat at the side and poured a cup of tea for Yicheng. Yicheng picked up the teacup, put it at the tip of his nose and smelled it. He couldn't wait to put it to his mouth and took a small sip. Good tea. Immediately, he couldn't help but exclaim. After living for so many years, he had never drunk tea with such a pure taste. This tea should only exist in the heavens. Qin Feiyong laughed. How is it compared to the tea you drank when you entertained me in the duty hall? It's not on the same level at all. Yicheng shook his head. Qin Feiyong smiled and asked, You should have more or less understood the Black Tortoise realm. Now tell me your thoughts. Yicheng was slightly stunned. After drinking the tea in the teacup, he put down the teacup and looked at Qin Feiyong. The Black Tortoise realm is indeed very good, but compared to the Divine Continent, it's far from being comparable, let alone the entire ancient realm. That's true. But do you know? The Black Tortoise realm is the same as the ancient realm. They are both independent worlds. Qin Feiyong said. Yicheng's gaze trembled. He had already thought of this. But at this moment, when it came from Qin Feiyong's mouth, he was still shocked. Independent world. In other words, Qin Feiyang was equivalent to a god of creation. There was a huge difference between the creator of a world and the strongest person in a world. The god of creation controlled everything and created everything. And the strongest person, such as Long Zun, only dominated the ancient realm. If she was asked to do anything else, she couldn't do it at all. I don't like to lie. I'm not the god of creation of the Black Tortoise realm yet. But everything in the Black Tortoise realm is under my control. This is indeed true. Qin Feiyang smiled. Yi Cheng was stunned and said in surprise, "Then where did you get this Black Tortoise realm?" Qin Feiyang said, "I got it by chance. Isn't this luck too heaven-defying?" Yi Cheng was speechless. He actually got an independent small world. He said, "Why are you telling me this?" "To tell you the truth. My goal in entering the Dragon God Palace is Yi Zhong," Qin Feiyang said. "My big brother?" Yi Cheng was stunned. "Yes. The ancestors gave me a mission to persuade Yi Zhong to join the Dragon Slayer Palace." Qin Feiyang smiled. "I see." Yi Cheng suddenly understood and frowned. "So you attacked me and used me to threaten my big brother?" "Wrong. If I wanted to use you to threaten Yi Zhong, do you think I would need to sit here and drink tea with you?" Qin Feiyang said. Yi Cheng nodded. That was indeed the case. Not only did he receive him with such good tea, but he also took him to understand the Black Tortoise realm. If it was really as he thought, there was no need at all. After pondering for a while, Yi Cheng said suspiciously, "Are you trying to bribe me to persuade my big brother?" "That's what I mean. I believe that if you, the younger brother, speak, it will be more useful than me." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Impossible. Let's not talk about my big brother first. Even I won't submit to you." Yi Cheng shook his head. "I don't need you to submit. We can be friends peacefully. When the time comes, you can enter my Black Tortoise realm at any time. I'm quite friendly to my friends." Qin Feiyang smiled. "The Black Tortoise realm?" Yi Cheng smiled and shook his head. Although the Black Tortoise realm is an independent realm, whether it's the cultivation environment or other aspects, it doesn't seem to have any temptation. The current Black Tortoise realm can't compare to the ancient castle, but the future is hard to say. I believe that in less than 10,000 years, the Black Tortoise realm will surpass the ancient world. Qin Feiyang smiled confidently. Yi Cheng sneered. "This old man is really curious. Where do you get such confidence?" Qin Feiyang said, "My confidence comes from the time array." "Time array?" Yi Cheng was stunned. "The time array of the Black Tortoise realm. A day outside is 100 years here. How many years are in the Black Tortoise realm if you calculate 10,000 years outside?" Qin Feiyang smiled. "What? 100 years in a day?" Yi Cheng was dumbfounded. Chapter 2487. 1 year, 365 days. 10,000 years was 3,650,000 days. According to the Black Tortoise realm's 100 years, 10,000 years in the ancient realm was 365 million years in the Black Tortoise realm. Just thinking about it was terrifying. Do you think that after 365 million years of development, the Black Tortoise realm still can't catch up to the ancient realm? Maybe it doesn't even need 10,000 years. 1,000 years is enough. Qin Feiyang said. 1,000 years in the ancient realm meant that the Black Tortoise realm had 36,500,000 years. 30 million years was enough for the Black Tortoise realm to rise. At this moment, Yi Cheng was very hesitant. If this child didn't die prematurely, he would definitely become a great talent in the future. He might even surpass Qin Batian and surpass Long Zun. Most importantly, he was still so young and already had such achievements. In that case, how shocking would his achievements be in the future? You should have been trapped in the Great Perfection realm for a long time. If I help you open the gate of potential and cultivate in the Black Tortoise realm, I believe that it won't be long before you break through to half-step undying. Moreover, I can give you an endless supply of soul stones. Gate of potential, endless supply of soul stones, and one day 100 years of time array. I believe that even if you are Yi Zhong's brother, you won't be treated so well in the dragons. Qin Feiyang laughed. Yi Cheng was silent. Frankly speaking, he was moved. Not to mention soul stones and time array, just opening the gate of potential was something he had longed for a long time. And now, all of this could be satisfied by Qin Feiyang. Could he refuse? To be honest, as long as he wasn't an idiot, he couldn't refuse. But Big Brother was the dragon's guest. If he betrayed the dragons, wouldn't that be the same as betraying Big Brother? You've been in the Dragon God Palace for so many years. I believe you know in your heart how the dragons treat us humans. In their eyes, we humans are just a group of livestock they raise. Is such a dragon worth us risking our lives for? Are they worth our protection? Please remember, you didn't betray us. You abandoned the darkness for the light. You chose the right path for all humans and all the living beings in the ancient world. Qin Feiyang said. The right path? Yi Chang muttered, struggling endlessly in his heart. Humans don't seek glory and wealth, but they seek to leave a mark in history. Now that the opportunity is right before your eyes, what are you hesitating for? Don't tell me that you really want to wait until the future to bear the infamy of a lifetime and go down in infamy? Even being despised and ridiculed by their own descendants. Is it worth it for the sake of dragons? Qin Feiyang enunciated each word clearly and forcefully. Every word was like a stab to the heart. Yi Chang could not help but clench his fists. For yourself, for your descendants, wake up. A person's life is neither short nor long. I have to do something meaningful. You have to do something that benefits the future generations, and not help the evildoer do evil. Qin Feiyang sighed. Boom! These words were like a bolt of lightning that ruthlessly struck Yi Chang's mind, causing his body and mind to tremble. That's right. Living in this world, why not do something meaningful? Why not do something that benefits the future generations? Why help the evildoer do evil? Why help the evildoer do evil? It was time to wake up. He could not let his descendants continue to struggle at death's door under the rule of dragons. In this life he had lived with enough grievances. He could not let his descendants live with such grievances. Phew. Yi Chang took a deep breath, looked at Qin Feiyang and nodded. Okay, this old man promises you. Haha, Qin Feiyang laughed. Fire Lotus beside him also laughed. His painstaking efforts were not in vain. Qin Feiyang raised his teacup and said with a smile, Welcome to the big family. Yi Chang smiled, picked up his teacup, and clinked it with Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang finished drinking, put down the teacup, looked at Fire Lotus and said with a smile, Give me 2 portions of the Supreme Nirvana Elixir. Okay. Fire Lotus nodded. Supreme Nirvana Elixir? Yi Chang looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Supreme Nirvana Elixir opens the door of potential in the Paragon God Realm. And now, I can only help you open the door of potential in the Paragon God Realm. Because I haven't mastered the pill formula to open the door of potential in the 9th Heaven Realm. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. That's enough. Yi Chang was overjoyed. In the past, not to mention the door of potential in the Paragon God Realm, even the first level of the door of potential was a dream for him. Fire Lotus took out 2 portions of medicinal herbs and handed them to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang immediately got up and walked towards the castle with the 2 portions of medicinal herbs. Wait. Yi Chang suddenly got up. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang stopped and turned to look at him suspiciously. Yi Chang pondered for a while, then raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang and said, Control this old man. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Fire Lotus also looked at Yi Chang in surprise. This was the first time she met someone who took the initiative to be controlled. Although we haven't known each other for long, I've heard rumors about you. You're a very cautious young man. So in order to get along well with each other in the future, you'd better control this old man directly, so as to avoid distrust and suspicion, so that this old man won't regret it in the future. Yi Chang said. In other words, only the 3 of us can enter and leave the Dragon God Hall freely without being controlled. Yi Chang explained. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang looked at the token. This token had Long Zun's aura, so it should be from Long Zun. Yi Chang said, If you need it, I can give it to you. No need. You keep it. It's convenient for you to enter and exit the Dragon God Hall. As for me, I have plenty of ways. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, waved his hand, and the enslavement seal turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the top of Yi Chang's head. Soon, the enslavement seal was completed. Qin Feiyang also followed him into the ancient castle, and saw Yuda lying on the ground on his last breath. His entire body was dripping with blood. The big black wolf at the side finally felt comfortable. How is it? Hui asked. Done. Qin Feiyong smiled. That's it? Hui was slightly taken aback. Not bad, you're quite capable. He thought that it would take a lot of effort to make Yichang surrender. But he didn't expect to be convinced so quickly. I'll go refine pills first. As for this Yuda. Qin Feiyong lowered his head to look at Yuda, and said indifferently, there's no use keeping him, kill him. After saying that, he entered the cultivation room without looking back. But when Yuda heard this, his body suddenly trembled, and he hurriedly got up, shouting, Don't kill me, I beg you. It's useless to beg. Who asked you to provoke us? The big black wolf shook his head. I was wrong, I don't dare anymore. Let me go, I beg you. Yuda cried out in grief. He was really unlucky, encountering these fierce people as soon as he came out of seclusion. It's so noisy. Hui glared at him, and with a wave of his hand, ended Yuda's life. Not long later, Qin Feiyong walked out of the cultivation room, holding 2 supreme nirvana pills in his hands, both of which had a dragon-shaped pill chi. When Yichang saw these 2 pills, he was shocked in his heart. When he was in the sky above the divine treasury, he heard Pai Lupi and Hui talking about the divine pills. He was still thinking, where did the divine pills in the divine treasury come from? Now he finally knew that it was refined by Qin Feiyong. He could actually refine a divine pill? This brat was truly a monster. Chapter 2488. Next. Of course, it was to help Yichang open the door of potential. With the help of a half-step undying expert like Fire Lotus, it was naturally a simple matter. Qin Feiyong, come here. Hui glanced at Fire Lotus and Yichang, then waved to Qin Feiyong. What? Qin Feiyong looked at him suspiciously. Just come when I tell you to. Hui was unhappy. Qin Feiyong walked over doubtfully. Hui continued to lead Qin Feiyong to the tea garden not far away. Not long after, the two entered the tea garden. Qin Feiyong frowned and said, So mysterious, what's the matter? I just have a question that I want to ask you. But you have to promise me that you won't tell anyone about this. Hui glanced at Fire Lotus and the others in the courtyard and said in a low voice, Okay, I promise you. Qin Feiyong nodded. Hui said, When I returned to the 9 Heavens Palace this time, I saw Lan Shangguan Fenglan? Qin Feiyong was stunned and asked puzzledly, What can happen between the two of you? Hey, what are you talking about? Why can't I have something with her? Hui was dissatisfied. Then what is it? Could it be that Shangguan Fenglan likes another man? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Get lost. Is Lan such a fickle woman? Don't insult her. Hui said angrily. Qin Feiyong's face twitched and asked, Then what is it? That's right. When I went back this time, I asked her whether she likes me or not. Hui said. Then what did she say? Qin Feiyong was curious. She said she likes you. Hui said. Isn't that a good thing? What are you still hesitating about? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. A good thing is definitely a good thing. However, the problem is that I did not ask her with the identity of Hui. Instead, I asked her with the identity of Yi Xiaoyao. Hui frowned. What the hell? You haven't confessed to her yet. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Do I dare? If she finds out that Hui is Yi Xiaoyao, the vice palace master of 9 Heavens Palace that she is familiar with, wouldn't she fall out with me on the spot? Hui said in distress. That's true. Qin Feiyong nodded. Hui said, So I want to ask you, what should we do about this? I really can't do anything about this. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Are we still brothers? Can you bear to see your brother remain single for the rest of his life? Hui angrily glared at him. This has nothing to do with being brothers. As the saying goes, the one who started the trouble should be the one who started it. You'll have to deal with this yourself. Qin Feiyong was helpless. I know I have to deal with it myself, but you have to help me come up with a plan, right? Hui rubbed his forehead. I'm puzzled. Shangguan Fenglan has already entered 9 Heavens Palace. Why didn't you confess to her before? Why did you have to wait until you changed your name to Hui to pursue her? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. I didn't pay much attention to her before. Let's talk about it later. I'm rarely in 9 Heavens Palace. I remember the last time I saw her was when she became the law enforcement hall master. At that time she was just a little girl in my eyes. She didn't have any charm at all. Hui sighed. Qin Feiyong said, then she has charm now? Aren't you talking nonsense? If she doesn't have charm now, would I be so shameless to pursue her? Actually, I'm still worried about another problem. Say if I really marry her, will people say that I'm an old cow eating young grass behind my back? Hui asked. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Hui touched his chin and said narcissistically, although my appearance is undeniably handsome, I'm still much older than Lan Er. Get lost. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. There was no doubt that he was quite handsome. How shameless of him. Don't be unconvinced. Compared to you, I'm more than enough. Hui said proudly. Fine, you're handsome and invincible. You can slowly think about it yourself. Qin Feiyong glared at him and turned to leave. Don't. You're handsome. Handsome to the point where there's no justice. Quickly tell me, how do we solve this problem? Hui quickly grabbed Qin Feiyong and said with a flattering smile. Qin Feiyong thought for a while and said with a smile, actually, this matter is very easy to solve. Say it. Hui urged. You can use the identity of Hui to marry her first. When the rice is cooked, you can confess to her. What can she do when she falls out with me? Qin Feiyong said. Yes. Hui patted his head and said, when the rice is cooked, I'm not afraid of her falling out with me. She really listened to me? Qin Feiyong was stunned. This guy didn't have a brain. Didn't he realize that he was deliberately messing with him? If he confessed after marriage with Shangguan Fenglan's character, wouldn't she make a scene? He was afraid that she would kick him off the bed. Good idea, really good idea. The more Hui thought about it, the more he felt that it was feasible. As long as you think it's good. Qin Feiyong held back his laughter and turned to walk toward the courtyard. He couldn't help but look forward to the scene when Shangguan Fenglan fell out with him. How embarrassing would Hui be at that time? Thinking about it, he couldn't help but want to laugh. A moment later, Yi Cheng's door of supreme God potential was finally completely opened. Throughout the whole process he didn't rest. After opening the first level, he immediately opened the second level. After all, his cultivation had reached the peak of the ninth heaven realm, and his endurance was far beyond ordinary people. Of course, this had something to do with his willpower. Without strong willpower, it was impossible to open so many doors of potential at once. This is the potential mark? Yi Cheng entered the attic. After washing the blood off his body, he looked down at the potential mark on his chest, his eyes full of excitement. He didn't even dare to dream of the potential gate before. But he didn't expect to open so many levels at once. He could clearly feel that whether it was his external essence, chi, spirit, or internal potential and comprehension, they had all undergone earth-shaking changes. His whole person seemed to have been reborn. Even his old face was a few years older. The potential gate, the time array of 1 day and 100 years, and the inexhaustible soul stones. Maybe I can really step into the half-step invincible realm soon. Once he stepped into the half-step invincible realm, he would really be like a carp leaping over the dragon gate, soaring into the sky. Yi Cheng suppressed the excitement in his heart, changed into clean clothes and walked out of the attic. How do you feel? Qin Feiyong asked with a smile. Very good. Yi Cheng nodded. Opening the potential gate would not only greatly improve his comprehension, but also make it easier and faster to comprehend and upgrade the level of the divine art. Even the speed of refining soul stones would increase several times. He couldn't wait to cultivate in seclusion right now. But he knew that Qin Feiyong must have something to do, because he came to the Deacon Hall earlier to exchange merit points. Buzz. Suddenly, the image crystal buzzed. Qin Feiyong instinctively took out the image crystal, but found that it wasn't his image crystal that was buzzed. It's mine, Yi Cheng said. Then let's go. Qin Feiyong put away the image crystal and appeared in the hall with Yi Cheng and the big black wolf. Then he took a phantom pill and turned into Li Bu-er's appearance. At the same time, the big black wolf also turned into a big black dog. Then the man and the wolf retreated to the side. Yi Cheng activated the image crystal, and a shadow immediately appeared. It was Yi Zhong. Yi Zhong frowned. Where did you go? Yi Cheng said, I went back to the law enforcement hall for something. What's wrong? Yi Zhong said in a deep voice. I'll go home immediately. Go home? Yi Cheng was slightly taken aback. But immediately after, Yi Cheng's face changed, and he looked at Yi Zhong and asked, could it be? Yi Zhong nodded. Yi Cheng's face suddenly turned pale. Okay, I'll go back now. What about you? Yi Zhong said. I'll go find revered dragon to explain the matters of the Dragon God Hall, and then go back? Okay. Yi Cheng nodded and turned off the image crystal. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, I have urgent matters to attend to and have to leave the Dragon God Hall. You go back first. What happened? Tell me, maybe I can help. Qin Feiyong said. You can't help. Yi Cheng shook his head, opened an altar and quickly left. What's going on? Qin Feiyong and the big black wolf looked at each other in dismay. Make a trip home. Could it be that something happened at home? The big black wolf was bewildered. Maybe. Qin Feiyong nodded. Otherwise he wouldn't be in such a hurry. Moreover, it might take a long time. Otherwise Yi Zhong wouldn't have specially gone to find revered dragon to explain the matters of the Dragon God Hall. The big black wolf asked. Then what about us now? This? Qin Feiyong frowned. Originally he wanted to enter the Divine Weapon Pavilion. But now that Yi Cheng had left, no one would help him exchange for contribution points. He couldn't possibly barge in. After thinking for a while, Qin Feiyong said, Then let's go back first. The big black wolf said, Then you go back, I'll take a look around. Qin Feiyong was startled. He looked at the big black wolf and said, Then don't cause trouble. Is this emperor the kind of wolf that likes to cause trouble? The big black wolf rolled its eyes at Qin Feiyong, then took a step forward and disappeared into the mountains below. Qin Feiyong smiled helplessly, then opened an altar and left. After returning to the cave, Qin Feiyong entered the castle to continue cultivating. After breaking through to half-step God Realm, he could refine about 1,650 soul stones a day. And from half-step to early-stage God Realm he needed 10 billion soul stones. According to the time outside with his current speed, refining 10 billion soul stones would take more than 16,600 years. But in terms of the time in the ancient castle, 1 day was 100 years, 10 days was 1,000 years, and 100 days was 10,000 years. In other words, inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyong only needed 160 days to refine these 10 billion soul stones. 160 days was only 5 months, and it passed in the blink of an eye. And on that evening, 2 powerful auras descended outside the Dragon God Hall. Soon a white-clothed woman, accompanied by a black-clothed middle-aged man, walked up the stone stairs and entered the Dragon God Hall. Everyone in the Dragon God Hall, listen up. Grand Hall Master Yi Zhong has returned home due to some matters. From now on, this sovereign will temporarily take over the position of Grand Hall Master. The white-clothed woman scanned the Divine Dragon Island and suddenly spoke. Her tone was very calm, but it was like a clap of thunder that resounded in the sky above the Dragon God Hall. Chapter 2489. The Grand Hall Master has something to do? What's going on? He even sent someone to temporarily replace the Grand Hall Master to handle the affairs of the Dragon God Palace. Is he going to be away for a long time? As soon as the white-clothed woman said that, the entire Dragon God Palace was in an uproar. Everyone was discussing this voice at the same time. Inside the castle, Qin Feiyong suddenly opened his eyes, 2 rays of light bursting out. This voice was so familiar. He heard it a few days ago. It seemed to be. That's right. The ancestral dragon of the White Dragon clan. Back in the Internal Sea, it was because of this woman that Feng Daji self-destructed. She was actually the temporary Grand Hall Master. The ancestral dragon. He had to be careful this time, because this woman had a heaven-defying divine artifact in her hands. Big brother. Soon, the big black wolf ran into the cave and called out. Qin Feiyong got up and left the castle, appearing in front of the big black wolf. It's the ancestral dragon. The big black wolf immediately said. I know. Qin Feiyong nodded. But other than the ancestral dragon, there's another person. According to my sources, it seems to be the 10th elder who died in your hands back then. The big black wolf said again. 10th elder? Qin Feiyong was stunned and said in surprise. You mean the 10th elder of the Black Dragon clan? Yes. The big black wolf nodded. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Qin Feiyang chuckled. What's more coincidental is that he's the temporary island master of the first island, overseeing the Deacon Palace. The big black wolf said. Qin Feiyang was stunned. I guess the dragon sent him to oversee the first island to keep an eye on you. The big black wolf said. How do you know? Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at it curiously. Because he's a half-step invincible realm expert, and Big Sister's cultivation is also half-step invincible realm, so it's more than enough to keep an eye on you. But what he doesn't know is that we have Hua Yi, a beginner invincible realm expert. The big black wolf laughed evilly. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Don't be rash. Wait until I become a paragon god. Then I'll go and meet him. I have to dare too. I didn't see him. As soon as I heard that he came to the first island, I immediately ran back. Half-step indestructible, we can't afford to offend them. The big black wolf shook its head. It's good that you know. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and brought the big black wolf into the ancient castle, continuing his closed-door cultivation. Whoosh! Early the next morning, a middle-aged man about 1.8 meters tall with a thin body and a cold face descended in the sky above the valley. This was the 10th elder of the Black Dragon clan. The 10th elder lowered his head and looked at the cave abode below, his eyes emitting a fierce light. Beside him was a law enforcer at the 9th heaven realm. The law enforcer shouted arrogantly, Li Bu Air, the 10th elder of the Black Dragons is here. Come out and welcome him. However, after waiting for a while, Qin Feiyang didn't appear, nor did he hear Qin Feiyang's response. The law enforcer looked at the 10th elder and said angrily, Grand Elder, this person is too presumptuous. The 10th elder's eyes flashed coldly and he said, Go and drag him out. Yes. The law enforcer stepped in front of the cave abode and a light screen immediately appeared. Humph! The law enforcer smiled disdainfully and waved his hand, shattering the light screen immediately. In the ancient castle, a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth. Then he opened his eyes and 2 rays of cold light burst out of them. Then, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and an image appeared in the air. The law enforcer swaggered into the cave abode. Now that he had the 10th elder's support, he wasn't afraid. But when he entered the cave abode, the law enforcer couldn't help but be stunned. After all this time there was no one. The law enforcer released his immortal will again and found nothing. So he turned around and walked out of the cave abode. He looked up at the 10th elder respectfully and said, He's not in the cave abode. Not here. The 10th elder raised his eyebrows. The law enforcer said, He probably went somewhere else, or left the Dragon God Hall for something. Then you stay here and wait for him. When he comes back, immediately take him to the duty hall. The 10th elder said, Yes. The law enforcer nodded. The 10th elder immediately turned around and disappeared into the void in front of him. The law enforcer squatted outside the cave abode. In the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the image disappeared. And he continued to cultivate in seclusion. Guard. Then you can slowly guard. Time flew by. Outside more than 5 months had passed. But in the ancient castle more than 10,000 years had passed. Boom! Qin Feiyang's cultivation finally broke through and stepped into the early stage of the immortal realm. It wasn't just him. White-Eyed Wolf, Big Black Wolf, the 3 Black Panther brothers, and Madman all had their cultivations improved by leaps and bounds. Qin Feiyang restrained his aura and walked out of the ancient castle. Looking at the courtyard beside him, he saw Fire Lotus and Hua Yi standing beside the courtyard, looking not far away. Not far away in an open space, the golden sea python was lying on the ground, and the golden dragon ancestral dragon's body had disappeared. At this moment, the golden sea python was glowing with a bright divine light. What is it? Qin Feiyang walked over in surprise. Fire Lotus was taken aback and turned to look at Qin Feiyang with a smile. You're out of seclusion. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Fire Lotus said, This sea python has reached the final step of fusion. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly realized and asked, Then isn't it about to transform? Hui retracted his gaze and said, It will probably take a while. The ancestral dragon's body is so difficult to fuse with. Qin Feiyang was speechless. It had been more than 16,000 years in the ancient castle, and it still hadn't succeeded. Otherwise, how can it be called the ancestral dragon? But this little guy shouldn't be able to transform into the ancestral dragon, because the golden dragon ancestral dragon is not dead. Hui said. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It's not bad to be able to transform into a golden dragon." "That's true." Hui nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "All right then, I'll go out and meet the 10th elder first. Then you have to be careful. Because he has seen you before, don't let him see through your identity," Fire Lotus warned. "I know." Qin Feiyang nodded. Boom. However, at this moment, a powerful aura rushed out from below the medicine field. Qin Feiyang and the other two were taken aback and hurriedly turned their heads to look. Was it Feng Daji's aura? Whoosh! The next moment, an old man with a ruddy complexion and white hair covered in flames rushed out from the ground and stood above the medicine field, looking around in confusion. Where was this? So many medicinal herbs? So many spirit vein and crystal vein? Qin Feiyang looked at Feng Daji and said in astonishment, "Hui, didn't you say that it would take him at least tens of thousands of years to reconstruct his divine soul? Didn't I also say that spirit vein is a great help in condensing the divine soul? Fire Lotus placed him in the spirit vein, so of course the speed will be faster. However, he has only condensed his divine soul and hasn't reconstructed his body yet. Should still take a while." Hui said. "Qin Feiyang? Hui." It was also at this moment. Feng De saw Qin Feiyang and the other two and was slightly stunned, then hurriedly flew in front of the three. "Welcome back." Qin Feiyang smiled. "How long has it been since I self-destructed?" Feng Daji asked. Qin Feiyang said, "Not long, only half a year." "What? Only half a year has passed? I can reconstruct my divine soul in half a year?" Feng Daji was shocked. "You guys explained to him." Qin Feiyang said to the Fire Lotus duo, then changed his appearance and continued to suppress his cultivation to the level of a beginner war god. Then, he drove the ancient castle and left the cave without anyone noticing. Swish! After a while, he landed in a desolate forest outside the valley, and then slowly returned to the valley. "Li Buer, you're finally willing to come back." When Qin Feiyang entered the valley, the law enforcer guarding the valley immediately opened his eyes and said angrily. He had actually waited for nearly half a year. He even thought that this person had died outside. "You are?" Qin Feiyang looked at the law enforcer suspiciously. The law enforcer said with a cold face, "I'm the law enforcer of the law enforcement hall, Lin Hua." "Law enforcer?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why are you here?" "I'm waiting for you here. Where have you been these past few months?" The law enforcer said angrily. Qin Feiyang said, "I've been cultivating in seclusion beside a pond nearby. Don't you have a cave residence? Why didn't you cultivate in seclusion in your cave residence? Why did you go somewhere else?" When the law enforcer heard this, he immediately became irritable. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "The scenery there is good." "The scenery is good?" The law enforcer almost went crazy and shouted, "Since the scenery there is good, why didn't you move your cave residence there?" Qin Feiyang held back his laughter and asked, "Why are you looking for me?" "Nonsense. Why would I wait for you here for so long? Follow me to the duty hall immediately." Lin Hua waved his hand angrily and opened a teleportation altar. "Why are we going to the duty hall?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Lin Hua shouted, "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Hurry up." Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and followed Lin Hua onto the altar. The next moment, the two landed on the square of the duty hall. "It's Li Bu." A few disciples had just come out of the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Divine Art Treasury. When they saw Qin Feiyang, a trace of panic appeared in their eyes. Back then, the news of Qin Feiyang killing Wang Darren and the other two had spread throughout the first island. Even the second and third islands were talking about it. This guy is actually a low-level war god. Haven't you had enough of the game of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? A few of them were speechless. Who didn't know that this person was hiding his cultivation? However, no one knew Qin Feiyang's true cultivation. "Let's go." Lin Hua fiercely glared at Qin Feiyang. then walked towards the duty hall. He is a law enforcer? The law enforcer personally came and brought Li Bu-er to the duty hall. What is he doing? A few disciples didn't leave and looked at Qin Feiyong curiously. Lord! Lin Hua stood in front of the door and looked at the 10th elder sitting inside. He bowed respectfully. Where is he? The 10th elder asked. Lin Hua turned his head and looked at Qin Feiyong, who was walking slowly, and shouted, Hurry up and come here. I'm coming, I'm coming. Qin Feiyong walked over and looked inside the main hall. His heart trembled. He saw a thin middle-aged man sitting beside the tea table in the main hall. He was wearing a black robe and his black hair was draped over his shoulders. His dark eyes were as sharp as blades. It was indeed the 10th elder. Chapter 2490. Lin Hua entered the main hall and ran to the great elder's side. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, This is the 10th elder of the Black Dragon clan. Hurry up and greet him. 10th elder? Qin Feiyong was shocked. He cupped his hands and said, Disciple Li Bu-er greets the 10th elder. The 10th elder sized up Qin Feiyong with a trace of disdain in his old eyes. He said indifferently, Come in and talk. You have a noble status. How would I dare to enter? I'll listen to your reprimand outside the door. Qin Feiyong said. The 10th elder looked at Qin Feiyong in surprise and nodded. At least you know the rules. Although I'm young, I still know the rules. Qin Feiyong smiled. All right then. I won't beat around the bush with you. Hand over the supreme grade and legendary grade divine techniques that you obtained. The 10th elder transmitted his voice. As expected, it's for this matter. Qin Feiyong muttered. However, why hadn't Yichang and Yizhong returned yet? It had been almost half a year. Also, why did the 10th elder send a message? Wait a minute. He noticed the disciples not far away and immediately understood what was going on. It seemed that the 10th elder didn't dare to be too arrogant, because if the disciples below knew that the Dragon God Palace was actually taking back the Qilin technique and the serious demonic book, they would definitely talk behind their backs. In this way, whether it was the Dragon God Palace or the dragons, their reputation would be damaged. Didn't you hear? The 10th elder looked at the indifferent Qin Feiyong and slightly raised his eyebrows as he thought to himself. Qin Feiyong said, Elder, he didn't send a message. The great elder immediately glared at him with a threatening look. But Qin Feiyong turned a blind eye and said with a frown, Elder, you're a little too much. Too much? What's too much? What is he talking about? Not far away, the disciples were puzzled. Lin Hua was also dumbfounded. The only people who knew that Qin Feiyong had obtained the Supreme Godhead formula were Yizhong, Yichang, Yuda, and the dragons. Yuda was dead. Yizhong and Yi Zichen weren't in the Dragon God Hall either. Therefore, only the dragons knew about this. At the same time, hearing this, the 10th elder glared at Qin Feiyong, a cold light flashing in his eyes. The Supreme Grade Qilin Incantation and the legendary Heavenly Wolf Demonic Tome were both obtained by me, and the Big Wolf Dog through luck. Now you're forcing us to return it to you. How is this reasonable? Qin Feiyong still turned a blind eye and said unhappily. What? Sovereign Tier Divine Art. Legendary Deity Technique. As soon as he said that, the disciples nearby all had expressions of disbelief. Lin Hua's face was also filled with shock. This man and dog had actually obtained a Supreme Grade God Incantation? When did this happen? Why is there no news at all? Wait a minute. Could it be that half a year ago, when Li Bu-er killed Wang Darren and the other two? The 10th elder's face became more and more ugly. As an old antique who had lived for God knows how many years, how could he not see that Qin Feiyong deliberately said it in public? Since he had already said it out loud, there was no need to continue to hide it. Every blade of grass and every tree in the Dragon God Hall belongs to us, the dragons. Do you think we, the dragons, can do whatever we want? Let's talk about it later. Who knows if you really got it by luck? The 10th elder sneered. Then how do you think I got it? Did you open the jade box and check it one by one? Elder, the rules of the Divine Art Treasury are known by everyone in the Dragon God Hall. You just want to find an excuse to convince the public. But you don't know that if you say this, not only will it not make people think you're smart, but it will make you look stupid. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Damn. Is this person borrowing courage from the heavens? Although the 10th elder is really too much, he can't be scolded like this. Stupid. He dares to say these 2 words. I really admire his courage. The disciples were shocked. They heard that this person was arrogant, but they didn't expect him to be arrogant to this extent. He didn't even put the 10th elder of the Black Dragon clan in his eyes. Lin Hua was also stunned for a moment. When he came back to his senses, he immediately shouted in a stern voice, impudent. Who are you to talk to the 10th elder like this? And who are you? I'm talking to the 10th elder. Who are you to interrupt? Do you think you're more powerful than the 10th elder? Qin Feiyong shouted. Lin Hua's expression stiffened. He quickly looked at the 10th elder and said, Sir, I didn't mean that. Shut up. The 10th elder glared at him fiercely, then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, What a sharp tongue. But no matter what you say, you have to hand over the Qilin incantation and the serious demonic book today. What if I don't hand it over? Qin Feiyong said. Boom. The 10th elder directly used his actions to prove it. A terrifying pressure rolled toward Qin Feiyong. What happened? As soon as the pressure appeared, it startled everyone. Many people ran out of their cave abodes and looked at the duty hall in surprise. The disciples who were watching the show also turned around and fled the mountain peak in horror. Hey. What's going on? Many people gathered around. Last time when Li Buer killed Wang Darren and the other 2, he obtained a supreme-level divine incantation. Seems to be called the Qilin incantation. Now, the 10th elder of the Black Dragon clan wants him to hand over the divine incantation. Of course Li Buer won't do it, so he angered the 10th elder. Several disciples whispered, What? His luck is too good. He actually obtained a supreme-level divine incantation. But isn't this dragon's too much? He didn't steal or rob. He got it openly from the treasury of the divine incantation. Why should he take it back? Voices of discussion immediately rang out. Some people were angry at the dragon's actions. Wasn't he deliberately bullying others? But there were also people who gloated. So what if he was lucky? So what if he got a supreme-level divine incantation? He still had to return it to the dragons. Therefore, one must not be arrogant, let alone go against the dragons. Otherwise, one would suffer retribution sooner or later. In fact, these people were just jealous. Especially those who often entered the treasury of the divine incantation. Every time they entered, they hoped that they could get a supreme-level divine incantation and soar into the sky. But it always ended in disappointment. So when they learned that Qin Feiyong actually got a supreme-level divine incantation, they felt unbalanced. On the mountain peak, in front of the duty hall, Qin Feiyong was imprisoned by the pressure, and his face was a little hazy. If the soft approach didn't work, then the hard approach? Did they think he was easy to bully? Fine. Then he would make a big fuss and destroy this dragon god hall. Boom! But suddenly a terrifying aura descended, and a snow python appeared out of thin air, floating in the air. It's him. Everyone looked up and their expressions changed. The young man was lying on the back of the snow python, holding a green foxtail grass in his mouth, yawning as he sat up. He lowered his head to look at the mountain peak below and said angrily, Someone is causing trouble in the duty hall again? Do you really not put this young master, the hall master of the law enforcement hall, in your eyes? It's the hall master. Lin Hua's pupil shrank slightly as he hurriedly ran out and bowed. This lowly one, Lin Hua, greets Lord Hall Master. What's going on? The young man looked at Lin Hua and asked. This? Lin Hua wanted to say something but hesitated. Speak, the young man said. Although his tone was very calm, it carried a great deterrent force. Lin Hua's body trembled as he said, Lord Hall Master, it's like this. In a few words, he gave a clear account of what had happened. Take back the Qilin tactic and the Heavenly Wolf Devil book? The young man was slightly startled and asked suspiciously, How come this young master didn't know that our Dragon God Hall has such a rule? Lin Hua was in a dilemma. But at this moment, the 10th elder took a step forward and landed beside Lin Hua. He looked at the young man and said, It was this seat who set this rule. You? If this young master remembers correctly, you are only the temporary island master of the first island. Do you have the qualifications to set the rules? The young man was puzzled. The 10th elder proudly said, "The entire Dragon God Hall belongs to us dragons, not to mention this trivial rule. So it's like that. All right, then this young master will also set a rule. From now on, those who are not from the Dragon God Hall are not allowed to step into the Dragon God Hall. Dragons are no exception. Those who violate this rule will be killed without mercy." The young man smiled lazily. Those who are not from the Dragon God Hall are not allowed to step into the Dragon God Hall? This rule, isn't it obvious that it's against the 10th elder? People muttered. Because the 10th elder was not from the Dragon God Hall. How dare you? The 10th elder roared. He actually dared to ride on the dragons' heads and behave atrociously. Did he really think that he was invincible? The young man smiled indifferently and looked at the 10th elder. You don't seem to be from the Dragon God Hall. The exit is over there. Get lost. Awesome. This is called usurping the host's position. This is called domineering. Everyone's heart trembled. Since the establishment of the Dragon God Hall, there had never been such a powerful figure. It was clear that even if you dragons came to the Dragon God Hall, you have to follow the rules. Looking at the 10th elder again. He was so angry that his body was trembling, full of anger. The dragons ruled the divine land and the entire ancient world. Who in the world did not respect them like gods? But at this moment, someone actually tried to usurp the host's position. How could the dignity of the dragons be offended by such a lowly human? The young man frowned and looked at the 10th elder. Didn't you hear? I told you to get lost. Boom! The first elder could not bear it and his aura rolled out. Stop! However, at this moment a cold shout was heard. A woman in white came through the air like lightning and landed in front of the young man. It's really her. Qin Feiyang muttered. The ancestral dragon of the White Dragon clan. The 10th elder immediately flew to the side of the woman in white and said angrily, Lord Ancestral Dragon, this person is simply lawless. Speak clearly. The woman in white looked at the young man and frowned. Not only did he openly go against us dragons, but he also usurped the host's position and changed the rules of the Dragon God Hall. He also said that if anyone who is not from the Dragon God Hall wants to enter the Dragon God Hall, they will be killed without mercy. He's clearly talking about us, the first elder said. The woman in white looked up at the young man and asked, Is that so? Yes. You get lost too. The young man nodded lazily. What? He actually asked the ancestral dragon to get lost. Everyone was dumbfounded. This person's arrogance and dominance could no longer be described with words. Chapter 2491. The 10th elder also looked at the young man in a daze. It was one thing to be arrogant in front of him, but he actually dared to be arrogant in front of Lord Ancestral Dragon? Lord Ancestral Dragon, did you see that? Did you see that? How is he respectful to us dragons? Coming back to his senses, the 10th elder roared. Ever since the dragons ruled the ancient world, no one had ever dared to be so presumptuous in front of them. Even the people of the Dragon Slayer Palace did not have the guts. The white-clothed woman's expression was naturally quite ugly. She had long heard that this person was very arrogant, but when she saw it with her own eyes, she realized that it was even worse. The white-clothed woman said in a deep voice, What right do you have to tell me to get lost? Yizhong is not here, so I'm the boss. Do you think I'm qualified? The young man said lazily. You're the boss? Don't you know that Yizhong is also working for us dragons? No matter what, it's not your turn to be the king of the Dragon God Palace. The white-clothed woman shouted. Yizhong working for you is Yizhong's private matter. What does it have to do with me? I only care about the Dragon God Palace. Right now, I'm the boss of the Dragon God Palace. Do you have any objections? The young man played with the dog's tail grass at the corner of his mouth. His lazy expression was full of playfulness. Haha, the white-clothed woman raised her head and laughed. Clang! All of a sudden, a snow-white thin sword appeared, as if it was condensed from black ice. The place was suddenly filled with a bone-chilling cold. A heaven-defying artifact. Qin Feiyang's pupils contracted. When the surrounding onlookers saw this, they fled into the distance without looking back. The young man's expression did not change, and he said, Looking at your posture, you're ready to fight with me? If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know what you're capable of. The white-clothed woman grabbed the thin sword and slashed at the young man. The sharpness was earth-shattering. The young man still looked lazy, but the snow python under his feet was panicking to the extreme. You followed me for so long, yet you're still so timid. Can't you be a little more mature? The young man hit the snow python's head hard. The snow python felt wronged. Of course you're not afraid because you're strong. But what about me? He was only at the peak of the 9 heavens realm. Seeing the ancestral dragon and the heaven-defying divine artifact, who wouldn't be afraid? The young man shook his head and raised his head to look at the white-clothed woman. He slowly removed the dog's tail grass from the corner of his mouth. Suddenly, with a flick of his index finger, the green foxtail immediately turned into a stream of light and swept towards the white-clothed woman. Clang! When the green foxtail grass collided with the thin sword, an ear-piercing metallic sound and dazzling sparks were produced. The white-clothed woman was shocked. The collision between the thin sword and the green foxtail grass actually made her arm numb. The next moment, the green foxtail was sent flying back into the young man's hand. However, the white-clothed woman was also forced back a few steps, and the thin sword in her hand almost slipped out of her hand. The white-clothed woman looked at the green foxtail grass in shock. The 10th elder was also in disbelief. The surrounding disciples were even more furious, and their eyeballs were about to fall out. A green foxtail grass could actually fight against a heaven-defying divine weapon? Qin Feiyong was no exception. He was deeply shocked. Although the thin sword in the white-clothed woman's hand was not unsealed, it was still a heaven-defying divine weapon. How could such an ordinary dog's tail grass be so powerful? Wait! Suddenly, Qin Feiyong thought of the fight between the young man and Yi Zhong. When the two were fighting, a golden glove suddenly appeared on Yi Zhong's hand. Although it was like a flash in the pan, this glove was definitely not simple. At that time, the young man also used the green foxtail grass to fight against the glove. Looking at it this way, this green foxtail grass was probably not as simple as it seemed on the surface. I'll say it again. Those who are not from the Dragon God Palace are not allowed to step into the Dragon God Palace. Get out of here immediately. With the green foxtail grass in his mouth, the young man looked listlessly at the white-clothed woman and the 10th elder and said. The 10th elder clenched his hands and growled, Lord Ancestral Dragon, release the seal and kill him. What? Release the seal of the heaven-defying divine weapon? Are you kidding me? Are you trying to kill us? Dragons, you've gone too far. The surrounding crowd immediately roared. If the seal was released, not to mention the first island, the entire Dragon God Palace would be turned into ashes in an instant. These beasts, the dragons, did not care about their lives at all. And at the same time, when the young man heard the 10th elder's words, he suddenly disappeared from the back of the snow python. The next moment, he stood behind the 10th elder and said, What did you just say? I didn't hear it clearly, say it again? The 10th elder's body and mind tightened, and he quickly ran behind the white-clothed woman. The white-clothed woman also turned around at the first moment, protecting the 10th elder behind her. If you're so timid, don't jump out. The young man chuckled and returned to the back of the snow python. Then, he lay down with his hands behind his head and crossed his legs. Looking at the young man's posture, the 10th elder was both angry and afraid. The white-clothed woman frowned. If you don't leave in 3 breaths, then I'll be serious. At that time, don't say that I didn't give you face. With that, the young man closed his eyes and took a leisurely nap. Lord Ancestral Dragon. The 10th elder looked at the white-clothed woman. The white-clothed woman glanced at the young man and then looked at the dog's tail grass at the corner of his mouth. Her eyes flickered. Suddenly, she lowered her head and looked at Qin Feiyong. An inexplicable light flashed in her eyes. She looked at the young man again and said, Fine, we won't take back the Qilin technique and the serious demonic book. The ancestral dragon actually gave in? Everyone looked at the white-clothed woman in shock. They thought that the white-clothed woman would definitely make a move, but they did not expect that she would lower her head and compromise with the young man. The 10th elder was also stunned. Lord Dragon Sovereign ordered to take back the Qilin technique and the serious demonic book to confirm whether the young man and Li Boer are related? And the current situation is already obvious. Since the goal has been achieved, there is naturally no need to make a move. The most important thing is that you have already angered everyone when you said that you would release the seal. There is a truth since ancient times. You have to understand that water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize a boat. The white-clothed woman transmitted her voice. The 10th elder said secretly, "But I have my own ideas." The white-clothed woman waved her hand and looked at the young man. "In this way we don't have to leave the Dragon God Palace? As long as you follow the rules, everything is negotiable." The young man did not open his eyes and smiled faintly. "Okay. In the future, we will mind our own business." The white-clothed woman nodded. Looking at the white-clothed woman's attitude, everyone could not calm down for a long time. This was too unbelievable. The ancestral dragon was not just giving in. It was a pleading attitude. Just how strong was this young man? The most important thing was, the young man was so arrogant, but the dragon sovereign actually sat by and did nothing? The hidden mystery was worth pondering over. Qin Feiyong was also pondering over a problem. The young man had helped him more than once, but he could not figure out why the young man would help him. One had to know. He and the young man were neither relatives nor friends. They only met on the plains. After getting to know each other, they did not have any deep contact. Qin Feiyong was a very sensitive person. He was used to fighting and scheming. He did not believe that there would be anyone in this world who would selflessly help others. Therefore, the young man's actions inevitably made him suspicious. Forget it. When there is a chance, I will ask him face to face. Qin Feiyong shook his head. He could not guess the young man's thoughts. He had to ask him face to face. Phew. Taking a deep breath, Qin Feiyong looked up at the 10th elder and smiled faintly. "Elder, is there anything else?" "No, get lost." The Grand Elder shouted. All of this was caused by this person. However, with the young man around, there was nothing he could do. As an elder of the Black Dragon clan, he had never been so aggrieved. "You don't, but I do." Qin Feiyong took out a Qingkuan bag and said with a smile, "Help me exchange for merit points." "Exchange for merit points at this time? Can't you see that the 10th elder is angry? You really don't know." "What do you know?" Li Boer did it on purpose. He did it to anger the 10th elder. The surrounding disciples whispered. As expected, the 10th elder was so angry that he was going crazy. Qin Feiyong said suspiciously, "Elder, what's with your expression? Do you have to pick an auspicious day to exchange for merit points?" The 10th elder clenched his hands tightly and shouted, "Lin Hua, why are you still standing there?" Lin Hua shuddered and quickly ran to Qin Feiyong's side, took the Qingkuan bag and began to count the herbs inside. As for the young man, he did not pay any more attention and closed his eyes to take a nap. But he had no intention of leaving. If the young man did not leave, the woman in white did not dare to leave either. Because she was afraid. She was afraid that the 10th elder would be impulsive and anger the young man. At that time, even if the gods descended to the mortal world, they would not be able to save the 10th elder. Soon, Lin Hua counted the results and looked at the 10th elder. A total of 3,000 Nirvana Divine Fruits, 3,000 Mother Earth Chaos Divine Ginseng, and 4,000 Nature Fruits. So many. And every one of them is a very precious herb. This person's family background is very rich. People muttered. The Great Elder asked, "How many merit points?" Nirvana Divine Fruit 1 is 2 merit points. Mother Earth Chaos Divine Ginseng is the same. Nature Fruits are slightly inferior, 1 merit point. 3,000 Nirvana Divine Fruits, a total of 6,000 merit points. 3,000 Mother Earth Chaos Divine Ginseng, also 6,000 merit points. 4,000 Nature Fruits, 4,000 merit points. A total of 16,000. Lin Hua said, "I'm so envious." He got 16,000 merit points in one go. The surrounding people murmured. The highest reward for the mission on the bulletin board was 100 merit points. Moreover, a mission like this that could earn 100 merit points was basically very difficult to complete. Therefore, to the disciples of the first island, 10,000 merit points would take a very long time to accumulate. Qin Feiyong also took out his identity token and handed it over to Lin Hua. Lin Hua took the token and immediately flew in front of the 10th elder. The 10th elder waved his hand and a ray of divine light flew into the token. Lin Hua then brought the token and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. When Qin Feiyang received the token, his spirit sense surged in and there was an additional message. Merit points. 16,000 points. 16,000 merit points was enough for him to enter the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Divine Art Treasury 16 times. 16 times. Get ready to watch a good show, Qin Feiyang muttered, then ignored everyone else and turned around to walk towards the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Chapter 2492. Although he was muttering to himself, it was particularly ear-piercing in the silence of the mountain peak. Watching a good show? Enter the Divine Weapon Pavilion? Don't tell me he still wants to get the only supreme artifact in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. His luck is already heaven-defying enough to obtain a supreme artifact. Now he wants a supreme artifact? How greedy! Just watch. When he comes out later, he will definitely have a disappointed and depressed expression. Everyone was discussing. Luck wasn't always that good. The 10th elder also had a trace of ridicule in his eyes. After obtaining a supreme artifact, he began to become arrogant. Did he think he could easily obtain a supreme artifact? He was ridiculously naive. Even the white-clothed woman could not help but want to laugh. This kid, there was nothing wrong with him. Did he think that the Divine Weapon Pavilion was opened by his family? Qin Feiyang grabbed the token and embedded it in the groove of the door. The door of the Divine Weapon Pavilion immediately opened slowly. Subsequently, Qin Feiyang entered the Divine Weapon Pavilion under the gaze of countless people. Interesting. The young man lying on the back of the snow python muttered, but he did not open his eyes from beginning to end. Inside the Divine Weapon Pavilion, there were a total of 3 floors. Rows of iron shelves were neatly arranged, with long iron boxes placed on them. Each iron box was 3 meters long and half a meter wide. Just from the appearance, they were all exactly the same. It was hard to tell what kind of artifact was inside. Qin Feiyang stood in front of the door, glanced at the iron boxes on the shelves, and injected his divine sense into the token. Merit points. 15,000 points. Each entry costs 1,000 points. For others, whether it was entering the Divine Weapon Pavilion or the Divine Weapon Pavilion, it was all a gamble of luck. But for Qin Feiyang, as long as he could enter, he would definitely gain something. After putting away the token, Qin Feiyang raised his head and strode forward. He looked to the east and looked to the west. He walked along the rows of iron shelves as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. After a while, he finished the first floor and walked to the second floor. He walked through the second floor as if he was taking a stroll and entered the third floor. About half an hour passed. Qin Feiyang stopped at the staircase. He seemed to be waiting for something. This place was just like the Deity technique treasury. No matter how you tried to figure it out, you would never be able to deduce the location of the supreme deity artifact. Because every iron box was exactly the same. Furthermore, not only could the iron box prevent the prying of divine sense, it could also block the aura of a divine artifact. It was so tight that it was impossible to tell if it was a sword, a saber, a hammer, or a spear, let alone the grade of a divine weapon. Unless he could see through the iron box. However, Qin Feiyang couldn't do that at the moment. You brat, didn't you say you wanted to keep a low profile? Why are you doing such a high-profile thing now? Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Keep a low profile and do things in a high-profile manner. Qin Feiyang snickered. Haha, then I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to keep a low profile in the future. The shadowless man laughed. Actually, I've always been very low-key, okay? But if you keep a low profile, there will always be people who want to bully you. There's no other way. Qin Feiyang was helpless. Ever since he entered the Dragon God Palace, he had wanted to keep a low profile and avoid some trouble. But every now and then, someone would come looking for trouble. What could he do? Since keeping a low profile was also troublesome, then he might as well keep a high profile for once, vent the anger in his heart, and also see the wonderful expressions of the dragons. It was not a loss. Alright, as you wish. The 5th row of iron shelves on the 2nd floor, the 3rd floor, the 4th iron box from the right. The shadowless man said. Thank you. Qin Feiyong secretly thanked him, then turned and walked towards the second floor saying, speaking of which, I really want to see you. All along, the shadowless man had been helping him selflessly in the dark. There were even several times when he was in despair and helpless. It was the shadowless man who came out to comfort him, encourage him, and make him pull himself together again. Therefore, he was extremely grateful to the shadowless man. He really wanted to say thank you in person. However, the shadowless man was just like his name, without a trace. No one knew where he was and no one knew who he was. There will be a chance. The shadowless man smiled. You big shots all like to pretend to be mysterious. Qin Feiyong was helpless. You're wrong about that. I'm not a big shot. Just like you, I'm just a speck of dust in this world. The shadowless man said with a faint smile. A speck of dust, Qin Feiyong murmured. There was no way to refute this. Very soon, Qin Feiyong followed the shadowless man's instructions and found the designated iron box. Qin Feiyong did not hesitate and directly grabbed the iron box. The next moment, he appeared outside the gate of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. He's out. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyong. To be exact, they were looking at the iron box in Qin Feiyong's hands. Qin Feiyong glanced at the crowd, put the iron box on the ground, and then slowly opened it. However, as the iron box was opened, there was no powerful aura, nor was there any bright divine light overflowing. It was as if there was just an ordinary divine weapon inside. No, it was not even comparable to the most ordinary divine weapon. This was because even an ordinary divine artifact possessed divine might. But there was no divine power in this iron box at all. Did you see it? Did you see it? This is luck. Being able to get a supreme divine technique does not mean that you can get a supreme divine weapon. Looking at it, I'm afraid that the thing inside the iron box is trash that can't even be considered a divine weapon. Everyone laughed. Everyone's luck is limited. The 10th elder snorted coldly. Although it was just a simple sentence, it was full of sarcasm. But Qin Feiyong turned a deaf ear to these voices, because he believed that the shadowless man's judgment would not be wrong. Clang! Finally, the iron box was opened. A black bead appeared in the air. The bead was about the size of a pellet. Not only was it simple and unadorned, but it also did not have the aura of a divine weapon. Just this broken bead? At first glance, I can tell that it's a cheap item. Everyone's eyes were full of disdain. It was a waste to get such a thing for 1,000 merit points. However, the woman in white stared at the black bead with a trace of surprise in her eyes. Seemed to be somewhat familiar. Qin Feiyong took out the bead and looked at it curiously for a while. Then he cut his finger and dripped his blood to recognize it as its owner. Buzz! When the blood dripped on the bead, the originally simple and unadorned bead suddenly emitted a bright divine light. What? Everyone who was full of disdain before, suddenly had a face full of surprise. This divine light, compared to a pinnacle divine weapon, it was more dazzling than a legendary divine weapon. No way! This was a supreme divine weapon? How could it be? Everyone shook their heads. The 10th elder was also extremely surprised at this moment. Looking at Qin Feiyong at this time, there was a trace of incomparable excitement in his eyes. Because the moment the blood merged with the bead, a message poured into his mind. Supreme Divine Weapon, Soul Calming Divine Bead. The so-called Soul Calming Divine Bead was to protect the divine soul. In other words, this was a supreme divine weapon that specialized in protecting the divine soul. Whether it was humans, dragons, or other creatures, the divine soul was undoubtedly the most important and also the most fragile. Once the divine soul was gone, even if there was a heaven-defying divine pill, there was no way to save it. From this, one could imagine how precious a sovereign-grade divine artifact that could protect the soul was. Could be said that the value of the soul-calming divine bead surpassed all supreme divine weapons of the same level. The woman in white seemed to have thought of something and muttered to herself, her face full of disbelief. How heaven-defying was this kid's tone that he could even get such a divine weapon? Lord Ancestral Dragon, noticing the woman in white's reaction, the 10th elder looked at her in surprise. Could it be that the bead was really a supreme divine weapon? But even a supreme divine weapon could not make the Ancestral Dragon lose his composure like this. Because the ancestral dragon even had a heaven-defying divine weapon. That is the soul-calming divine bead. The woman in white looked at the 10th elder and sighed. Soul-calming divine bead? Everyone was suspicious. The soul-calming divine bead is a supreme divine weapon. Its only function is to protect the divine soul. Although it has only this function, although it does not have a powerful killing power, it is still incomparable to other supreme divine weapons. The woman in white explained. What? A supreme divine weapon that protects the divine soul. Everyone's mind buzzed when they heard this. Everyone present was at least a war god, so they all knew the importance of the divine soul. Protecting the divine soul. This was a divine weapon that many people dreamed of. How heaven-defying was this Libur's luck? The first time he entered the divine technique treasury, he obtained the supreme divine technique Qilin skill. The first time he entered the divine weapon pavilion, he obtained the supreme divine weapon soul-calming divine bead. Did he step on dog shit when he went out? Impossible, absolutely impossible. After the 10th elder heard this, he also shook his head, his face full of disbelief. No matter how lucky he was, it was impossible to obtain a supreme divine technique and a supreme divine weapon consecutively. It was also at this moment. Qin Feiyong raised his head to look at the 10th elder and said with a smile, "Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" The 10th elder clenched his fists and roared, "Lord Ancestral Dragon, there must be a problem." Other than this explanation, he could not find any other reason. Yes, Lord. He must have some way to see what's inside the iron box. Lord, you must investigate thoroughly. He's cheating. Everyone roared. Envy, jealousy, hatred. This was human nature. If you can't get it, you don't want others to get it. Cheating. Are you doubting the ability of the dragons? Qin Feiyong asked with a smile. Someone said angrily, cheating is cheating. What does it have to do with the ability of the dragons? The Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Divine Technique Treasury were both created by the dragons. Now that you say that I'm cheating, isn't that doubting the ability of the dragons? Qin Feiyong laughed. That's not what we mean. Don't talk nonsense. Someone immediately roared in anger out of humiliation. Then what do you mean? Just because you're jealous of me, you're saying that I'm cheating? Jealousy is something that only incompetent people have. Have you all admitted your incompetence? Qin Feiyong pursed his lips into a mocking smile. You. Everyone glared at Qin Feiyong, gnashing their teeth in hatred. The key point was that there was nothing they could do. Chapter 2493. Jealousy will only make people fall behind. Only by being humble can one improve. All of you, you must remember this. Qin Feiyong looked at those people and smiled like an old man. Then, with a thought, the soul fixation divine pearl immediately disappeared. Everyone gritted their teeth and stared at Qin Feiyong. He actually dared to preach to them? In his knowledge, see. As soon as the soul anchoring pearl appeared, it floated beside Qin Feiyong's soul, emitting rays of divine light, protecting his soul. At this moment, Qin Feiyong felt safer than ever. In the future, other than a heaven-defying divine artifact, what else could pose a threat to his soul? Moreover, this soul-anchoring pearl had a chance to evolve into a heaven-defying divine artifact. What he lacked now was the power of law. At that time, once the power of law was bestowed, when the soul-anchoring pearl evolved into a heaven-defying divine artifact, even if his opponent also had a heaven-defying divine artifact, they wouldn't be able to harm his soul. I've profited. Qin Feiyong smiled. The Shadowless was really a reliable guy. But who was he exactly? Gathering his thoughts, Qin Feiyong looked at the Divine Weapon Pavilion, then at the Divine Technique Treasury. In the end, he decided to enter the treasury. He had already obtained a lot of divine artifacts from the treasury, but there weren't many powerful divine techniques in the Black Tortoise world. It was time to seek blessings for the Black Tortoise world. He went to the treasury again. I really want to follow him and see how he found these divine techniques and divine artifacts. I don't believe that there is someone in this world with such good luck. The people around were ready to make a move, but no one dared to enter the treasury, because in their eyes, Qin Feiyong was an existence that they couldn't afford to offend. I'll go take a look. The white-robed woman spoke. In a flash, she appeared in front of the treasury. She didn't use any token or merit points and directly walked in. Qin Feiyong was wandering around. When he saw the white-clothed woman enter, he was speechless. You really suspect that I'm cheating? The woman in white didn't say a word. She just stared at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong smiled helplessly and continued to wander around. After a short while, he casually grabbed a jade box and disappeared. So casual? The white-clothed woman was stunned. She grabbed another jade box and left the treasury. Outside, the two of them appeared one after another. The white-clothed woman glanced at the jade box in her hand, and then looked at the jade box in Qin Feiyong's hand. There seemed to be a trace of expectation and also a trace of nervousness in her eyes. Qin Feiyong smiled at the white-clothed woman and opened the jade box. A flame immediately rushed out. This aura. Everyone's heart trembled. Qin Feiyong grabbed the jade slip inside and checked it for a bit. He smiled and said, "My luck is really too heaven-defying. Legendary level divine art white tiger true technique." What? Another legendary deity technique? Everyone's eyes trembled. What kind of heaven-defying luck was this? The white-clothed woman was also extremely shocked. She opened the jade box that she collected and saw that there was only one inferior deity technique. A legendary level divine artifact and an inferior deity technique. This was a huge difference. If she didn't see it with her own eyes that Qin Feiyong just casually took a jade box, she would really suspect that Qin Feiyong cheated. Qin Feiyong chuckled, put away the jade box and turned to enter the treasury. The white-clothed woman immediately followed him in. And the 10th elder also ran in. This time, Qin Feiyong still just casually took a jade box. The white-clothed woman and the 10th elder didn't believe it and also took a jade box. The result came out. Inside Qin Feiyong's jade box, there was another legendary level deity technique. And the jade boxes that the white-clothed woman and the 10th elder took out were respectively an inferior deity technique and a middle deity technique. What the hell? Could it be that he is the chosen one? His luck is so heaven-defying. People couldn't believe it. How could there be such a freak? Every time he went in, he would get the best deity technique? He went in again. Under everyone's gazes, Qin Feiyong once again entered the deity technique treasury. The white-clothed woman and the 10th elder were like two little followers, following Qin Feiyong all the time. When Qin Feiyong went up to the second floor and was about to grab a jade box, the 10th elder took a step forward and grabbed the jade box. You still want to grab this? Qin Feiyong was speechless. Then, under the white-clothed woman's gaze, he grabbed another jade box. And when he went out, the jade box that the 10th elder grabbed was only a middle deity technique. What Qin Feiyong took out was another legendary grade deity technique. What's going on? The 10th elder looked at the jade slip in his hand in astonishment. This was obviously what Qin Feiyong wanted. Why was it only a middle deity technique? This is luck. Qin Feiyong smiled proudly and entered the treasury again. Finally, everyone couldn't help it. After the white-clothed woman and the 10th elder followed in, they also took out their identity tokens and swarmed in. Although it was a bit of a waste of merits, they really wanted to know how Qin Feiyong chose the jade box. But they were disappointed. Qin Feiyong still took a jade box casually and didn't choose anything. However, he got a legendary level deity technique again. And this time there were hundreds of people who entered. Before they came out, they also grabbed a jade box casually like Qin Feiyong. But among the hundreds of people, the best deity technique was a perfect deity technique. Isn't this too outrageous? There are so many of us, but we don't even have a peak deity technique. And he is alone. As long as he goes in, he will definitely get a legendary level deity technique. Is he cheating? Everyone was incredulous. Of course, Qin Feiyong wouldn't say that a mysterious expert was helping him. And every time he did it casually, it was done on purpose. Time passed little by little. Qin Feiyong had already entered the treasury 9 times. And all 9 times it was a legendary level deity technique. Everyone was numb. It was too abnormal. If it was really due to luck, then this person was definitely the chosen one. After entering the treasury 9 times, Qin Feiyong went to the divine weapon pavilion. Because according to the shadowless man, there were no more legendary level deity techniques in the treasury. The highest level was the peak deity technique. Yes, the sovereign level deity technique and legendary level deity technique in the treasury were all out of stock. And the peak deity technique naturally didn't have much of a temptation for the current Qin Feiyong. It was better to get a few more legendary level deity techniques. In addition to the Qilin technique and the serious demonic book, Qin Feiyong got a sovereign level deity technique and 10 legendary level deity techniques in the treasury. The only regret was that after taking away the Qilin technique, the Dragon God Palace still hadn't put the sovereign level deity technique in. If he put it in, he could get another sovereign level deity technique. After entering the Divine Weapon Pavilion once and the treasury 9 times, Qin Feiyong still had 6,000 merit points left. He could still enter the Divine Weapon Pavilion 6 times. And these 6 times he got another 6 legendary level deity techniques. The white-clothed woman kept following him, watching as the legendary level deity techniques fell into Qin Feiyong's pockets one after another. Her heart was bleeding. Cheating. He didn't catch it. Luck? Even if the heavens were watching over him, it was impossible to have such luck. Could he see through the jade box? Metal box? That was even more impossible, because as the ancestral dragon, she couldn't see through the contents of the jade and metal boxes. She couldn't figure it out. How did Qin Feiyong do it? There must be more legendary level deity techniques in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. 10th Elder, come, let me exchange some more merit points. Qin Feiyong looked at the 10th Elder and smiled. The 10th Elder's face turned green. You want to go in? Lord. The 10th Elder looked helplessly at the white-clothed woman. Cough, cough. The white-clothed woman coughed dryly, looked at Qin Feiyong and said, Stop while you're ahead. Lord Ancestral Dragon, what do you mean by that? Aren't the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Deity Technique Treasury open to us disciples? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. The white-clothed woman's expression was rather awkward as she said, Although you're right, you've already obtained so much. That's because I was lucky that I was able to obtain these deity techniques and deity techniques. It can't be that you guys are so stingy that you won't let me in after seeing that I've obtained the deity techniques and deity techniques, right? Let me go in a few more times while I'm still lucky. Qin Feiyong laughed. The white-clothed woman didn't know what to do for a moment. This was because the existence of the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Deity Technique Treasury was indeed for the disciples below. However, if this continued, who knew how many more deity techniques and deity techniques he would lose? To the Dragon God Palace, this was a huge loss. Libor, you should be content. There's already so much. Some disciples were dissatisfied. What does it have to do with you? No way. Qin Feiyong said. If you take away all the good deity techniques in one go, what will we do in the future? Someone said angrily. Won't the Dragon God Palace make up for it? What are you afraid of? Besides, isn't there still the second island, the third island, the fourth island? These places also have the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Deity Technique Treasury. Qin Feiyong laughed. The white-clothed woman's heart trembled. This person couldn't be thinking about the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Deity Technique Treasury on the other islands, right? Qin Feiyong looked at the white-clothed woman and laughed. Master, let's exchange for some more merit points. I have the medicinal ingredients. The white-clothed woman shook her head. That's boring. Qin Feiyong shook his head helplessly and said, Fine, I'll come again when you guys make up for the supreme deity techniques and deity tools. Then I won't disturb you guys any longer. Goodbye. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and turned to leave. What the hell? He'll come again when we get the supreme deity techniques and deity tools? Is he trying to squeeze the Dragon God Palace dry? Everyone was speechless. Master, you're letting him go just like that? There's something fishy about this matter. The 10th Elder looked at Qin Feiyong's back and said to the white-clothed woman, Everyone knows there's something fishy, but do you have any evidence? You've been following him, did you see him cheat? The white-clothed woman rubbed her forehead. So many deity techniques and deity tools were all gone. The Dragon God Palace had never suffered such a loss in all its years of existence. The 10th Elder was unwilling to accept this. Not only was he humiliated in public, but he also took away so many deity techniques and deity tools. Give an order immediately. The white-clothed woman gritted her teeth and looked at the 10th Elder. Chapter 2494. What order? The 10th elder was suspicious. The other disciples also looked at the woman in white in confusion. Only the young man was indifferent and snoring. This made everyone speechless. How could he still fall asleep at this time? The woman in white said, "Order all the island masters to immediately withdraw the supreme level and legendary level divine weapons and divine arts." What? Withdraw the supreme level and legendary level divine weapons and divine arts? If that's the case, wouldn't the highest grade of divine weapon pavilion and divine art treasury be the pinnacle grade divine art and divine art? Everyone was stunned. For Li Bu-er, they actually changed the rules of the divine weapon pavilion and divine arts treasury? The woman in white looked at the disciples and sighed. This can't be helped. Please understand. Everyone was silent. Indeed, if they didn't withdraw the supreme level and legendary level divine arts and divine weapons now, they would probably fall into Li Bu-er's hands. This guy was really ruthless. He even forced the ancestral dragon to this point. The 10th elder looked at the woman in white and asked, "What about the first island? Maintain the status quo." The woman in white said. Her meaning was obvious. No more supreme level and legendary level divine arts and divine weapons. Master, this is not a long-term solution. Yet, we still want to try our luck. The disciples around said. When Chief Palace Master Yizhong returns, I will look for him to discuss a solution. After all, most of the rules of the Dragon God Palace were set by him. The woman in white said. All right. The disciples nodded. Headache. The woman in white rubbed her forehead, looked at the young man and turned to leave. The snow python looked at the woman in white and returned to the disciplinary hall with the sleeping young man. The disciples also left in 2s and 3s. Little bastard, I will not let you go. The 10th elder looked at the direction of Qin Feiyang's cave residence with a trace of killing intent in his eyes. He then turned and entered the deacon hall. I really didn't expect it to end like this. Lin Hua also shook his head and sighed. The name Li Bu-er would become a legend. Lin Hua, come in. At this time, 10th elder's voice rang out in the deacon hall. Lin Hua came back to his senses and hurriedly turned around and ran into the duty hall. The 10th elder sat beside the tea table and said sternly, I have a mission for you. Back to Qin Feiyang. After returning to the cavern, he entered the ancient castle and handed over the divine arts and divine artifacts to the Fire Lotus. So many? Fire Lotus was surprised. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said regretfully, if I had known, I would have exchanged more contribution points. Are you really going to rob them all? Fire Lotus was stunned. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said unhappily, girl, why have you also learned bad things? How am I bad? Fire Lotus looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang said, I used my merit points to enter openly. How can this be called robbery? Fire Lotus could not help but laugh. But what was the difference between this and robbery? Qindage, I am also curious. Why do you always get such good divine artifacts and divine arts every time you go in? Fire Lotus asked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, didn't I say that I have a benefactor helping me? Fire Lotus said, but you didn't say who the benefactor is? I can't say. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Fire Lotus was helpless and kept him in suspense. Qin Feiyang said, leave a legendary divine artifact for the big black wolf. As for the rest, you can do as you see fit. He already had enough divine arts and did not need any more. As for divine artifacts, the Azure Phoenix Sword and Coiling Dragon Staff were enough. Okay. Fire Lotus nodded. Qin Feiyang scanned the hall and asked, where are Feng Daji and Huai? Feng Daji is in seclusion to reconstruct his body. Huai is outside watching the golden sea python. Fire Lotus said. The sea python hasn't fused yet? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Although only 2 hours had passed outside, many years had passed in the castle. It should be soon, Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyang turned and walked out of the castle. He saw Huai sitting in the courtyard, drinking wine while looking at the golden sea python not far away. Your wine. Qin Feiyang smelled the fragrance of wine from afar. When he got closer, he found that it was the heavenly immortal wine. Huai laughed and said, it's not easy to return to the northern region. Naturally, I have to go to the Eastern Tomb's Heaven Immortal Tower. For Huai, wine was indispensable. So when he returned to the northern region, he specially went to the Heaven Immortal Tower. Qin Feiyong said, "So, you met the young miss of the Heaven Immortal Tower?" "Of course. A few hundred jars of heavenly immortal wine. As long as she asks, the Heaven Immortal Tower will dare to sell it to me," Hui said. "A few hundred jars." Qin Feiyong's body stiffened. "A total of 500 jars. But it's still not enough." Hui shook his head. "You might as well go and brew wine yourself." Qin Feiyong was speechless. 500 jars of heavenly immortal wine wasn't enough? Did this guy really think that he was an alcoholic? "Don't talk about it. I really went to the young miss of the Heaven Immortal Tower to ask for the heavenly immortal wine's brewing formula. In the end, she directly chased me out." Hui had an unhappy look on his face. "You are really shameless." Qin Feiyong was speechless to the extreme. Why was the Heaven Immortal Tower so famous? It was because of the heavenly immortal wine. He actually went to ask for the heavenly immortal wine's brewing formula. Wasn't this the same as snatching the lifeblood of others? Being chased out was already considered light. If the young miss of the Heaven Immortal Tower was strong enough, she would most probably kill him with a single slap. Hui even had an unhappy look on his face. He really admired how shameless this guy was. Shameless? Good things should be shared with everyone. Hui pouted. After speaking, a mocking look flashed in his eyes. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Do you know? This young miss of the Heaven Immortal Tower even specially inquired about your situation." "Inquired about my situation?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. "Yes. She seems to be very concerned about you." Hui had a playful look on his face. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said, "What are you trying to say? Don't you know what I want to say? I really don't understand. You are such a dull person. How can you be so popular with women?" Hui touched his chin and scrutinized Qin Feiyong. "Cough cough." Qin Feiyong coughed dryly and shook his head. "Don't play matchmaker. Shang Guanxiu and I were messed up by you guys. Otherwise, how could things have turned out like this? Some things, if they didn't say it out loud, even they wouldn't realize it. For example, Shang Guanxiu. If it wasn't for the people beside him talking nonsense all day long, Shang Guanxiu probably wouldn't even think in this direction. Gossip was a fearful thing. This saying was indeed true. You don't know how lucky you are. Little Yuer doesn't object to you having multiple wives. Why are you still so pretentious?" Hui looked at him with disdain. "I'm different from you. I have to be loyal to my feelings," Qin Feiyong said. Hui was slightly stunned and puzzled. "Why do you give yourself such restrictions?" "Because of my family background. My father has many concubines. But other than fighting and scheming against each other all day long, what's the use of them? It's tiring just to look at them. And my mother. Although she was the empress and looked glorious on the surface, I don't know how much she suffered behind the scenes. So I don't want my women to be burdened like my mother," Qin Feiyong said. "I see." Hui nodded in realization. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying aura erupted. Qin Feiyong and Hui immediately looked over and saw that the aura came from the golden sea python. At this moment, the golden sea python slowly rose into the air, its whole body shining with golden light. But its eyes were still closed, as if it was in a deep sleep. However, its aura was rapidly transforming. In its aura there was a trace of dragon's might. And this dragon's might was getting stronger and stronger. And its body was also changing rapidly. The snake scales all over its body were transforming into dragon scales. The dragon horns on its head were purer, as if cast in gold. There were also 5 bulges under its abdomen, getting bigger and bigger, as if something was about to emerge from its flesh and blood. All of a sudden, the golden sea python roared towards the sky, and it actually let out a loud dragon roar. Its face also became distorted, as if it was in pain. Crack! About 10 breaths passed. The snake scales under its abdomen suddenly shattered. Its flesh and blood were torn, and 2 claws emerged. These were dragon claws. As soon as the dragon claws appeared, the snake scales on its body also turned into dragon scales one after another. Its body shape was also changing rapidly. Boom! Crack! However, at this moment, blood clouds suddenly surged in the sky. Streaks of blood-colored lightning flashed crazily in the clouds. This is heavenly tribulation. Qin Feiyong and Hua Yi were stunned. The carp leaping over the dragon gate actually had to go through a baptism of tribulation? Qin Feiyong, can the black tortoise realm withstand it? Hua Yi came back to his senses and hurriedly asked. This? Qin Feiyong scanned the black tortoise realm, and he really didn't know if it could withstand the golden sea python's heavenly tribulation. It definitely couldn't before it merged with the ancient castle, because the black tortoise realm was too fragile. And now the black tortoise realm had merged with the ancient castle, and the black tortoise realm had become as tough as the ancient castle. But one had to know that the golden sea python was a half-step indestructible. He had never experienced a half-step indestructible heavenly tribulation, so he didn't know if the black tortoise realm could withstand it. Back then, the fire lotus had undergone a tribulation, but at that time, the fire lotus's cultivation had not recovered to its peak state. So, the fire lotus's heavenly tribulation was far inferior to the golden sea python's heavenly tribulation. Hui said in a deep voice, "If you can't hold on, then hurry up and get out." Qin Feiyong frowned and scanned the sky with blood clouds. A smile gradually appeared on his face, and he said, "I think it should be able to hold on." "What do you mean?" Hua Yi was suspicious. Why did he suddenly become so confident? "If I can't hold on, that little brat will definitely run out first," Qin Feiyong said. "That's good." Hua Yi nodded. "But I definitely can't undergo the tribulation here." Qin Feiyong scanned the medicinal field. If he were to undergo the tribulation here, then this medicinal field, crystal vein, and spirit vein would definitely be destroyed. However, just as Qin Feiyong was about to leave the Devil's Land with the golden sea python, a black divine light suddenly rushed out of the ancient castle next to them. Looking at this sudden change, Qin Feiyong and Hua Yi's eyes were filled with a trace of surprise. Crack! A blood-red bolt of lightning struck down. The golden sea python also opened its eyes. Looking at the lightning power, its eyes were filled with fear. Shrouded in the aura of the heavenly tribulation, it could feel the power of the heavenly tribulation more clearly than Qin Feiyong and Hua Yi. It had no confidence in surviving this tribulation. Chapter 2495. Crack. The heavenly tribulation carried the power to destroy the world as it struck. The golden sea serpent was about to go all out. But at this moment, the divine light that rushed out of the castle quickly spread out above the golden sea serpent's head like a black carpet. The next moment, the heavenly tribulation struck the deep divine light. The sea serpent couldn't believe what happened. The heavenly tribulation seemed to have hit a sponge without any ripples. The heavenly tribulation didn't disappear either. It was imprisoned by the black divine light. That's amazing. Hua Yi was dumbfounded. He nearly cursed out loud. The golden sea serpent was so shocked that it couldn't close its mouth. A half-step imperishable heavenly tribulation had been blocked so easily? Was this the castle's ability? Too terrifying. What a shocking sight. Crack. The second heavenly tribulation struck. The result was the same. Just like that, the heavenly tribulation struck the black divine light one after another. So many heavenly tribulations? Qin Feiyong was surprised. 25 heavenly tribulations had struck, but it wasn't over yet. Was it the same as the inner demons and fire lotus's heavenly tribulation, which had 99 heavenly tribulations? Rumble. Crack. Blood clouds rolled and thunder and lightning roared. In the end, 99 heavenly tribulations struck. The power of the 99th heavenly tribulation was the sum of the previous 98 heavenly tribulation. The light curtain formed by the divine light couldn't block it. But the castle seemed to be prepared. Another vast divine light appeared and imprisoned the heavenly tribulation. And so, the 99 heavenly tribulations were all imprisoned in the void. Although the divine light imprisoned them, they could still feel a destructive aura. Each of the first 98 heavenly tribulations was enough to seriously injure a half-step undying realm expert. The last heavenly tribulation could even seriously injure a beginner undying realm expert like me. Hua Yi swallowed his saliva and said, "The divine might of this ancient castle was truly all-encompassing." So powerful? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Of course, if it wasn't for the castle, the golden sea serpent wouldn't have succeeded, Hui said. Qin Feiyong's mind suddenly became active. If that was the case, wouldn't these 99 heavenly tribulations be equivalent to 99 trump cards? Then in the future, when facing the half-step undying dragons, he would only need to use the power of heavenly tribulation to defeat them? Rumble. All of a sudden, a beam of golden divine light tore through the blood clouds in the sky and descended. The divine light of the ancient castle immediately retreated to the side with the power of the 99 heavenly tribulations. After the golden divine light landed, it entered the sea python's body. Ding! The sea serpent let out a loud dragon roar, and the last step of its transformation was completed. A 5-clawed golden dragon appeared out of nowhere. The dragon's scales all over his body seemed to be made of gold as they emitted a dazzling radiance. However, the symbol of the ancestral dragon did not appear on its forehead. This meant that the ancestral golden dragon was indeed still alive. This was because there could only be one ancestral dragon in the world. If the former didn't die, the future generations would never be able to give birth to a second ancestral dragon. The sea python was extremely excited. Its enormous body was trembling. That was not right. It should be called the 5-clawed golden dragon now. Boom! But in the next moment, the aura in its body surged out uncontrollably. The 5-clawed golden dragon was stunned. Qin Feiyong and Hui were also stunned. This seemed to be a breakthrough. Sure enough, the 5-clawed golden dragon's aura soared all the way. In just a few breaths, its aura broke through the shackles of the half-step undying realm and stepped into the initial undying realm. Hui was stunned. It actually broke through to the initial undying realm? This sea serpent had really obtained a great fortune. The 5-clawed golden dragon was also stunned for a long time. It had never expected that fusing with the divine body of the ancestral dragon would bring it such great benefits. Not only did it transform into a 5-clawed golden dragon, but it also broke through a realm. In the undying realm, the gap between each small realm was comparable to the previous big realm. The difference between the half-step undying realm and the initial undying realm was like heaven and earth. The initial undying realm could even kill the half-step undying realm. Moreover, after reaching the half-step undying realm, it was harder to break through a small realm than to reach the sky. A large number of creatures would be trapped in the half-step undying realm for the rest of their lives until they died of old age. Could be said that, in the imperishable realm, there was an insurmountable chasm between every small realm. Not bad, not bad. Qin Feiyong was also very gratified. First, Hui stepped into the initial undying realm, and now the 5-clawed golden dragon broke through to the initial undying realm. The strength of the Black Tortoise realm had increased by a large margin. One day, when the Sunset Divine Bow truly received the allegiance of the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts, its strength would become even stronger. I can already see hope. The dragons are not so far away. Qin Feiyong murmured. Thank you. The 5-clawed golden dragon withdrew its aura and flew in front of Qin Feiyong, its huge eyes full of gratitude. If it hadn't been for the help of the ancient castle, even with such an opportunity, it would not have been able to transform successfully, because it had no confidence in surviving the 99 heavenly tribulations. Qin Feiyong said, "Don't thank me. It was the ancient castle that helped you, not me. It's all the same. You helped me, and I will do my best to help you. No matter what happens in the future, I will stand with you." The 5-clawed golden dragon promised. At least you have some conscience. Hui smiled. What does this have to do with you? The 5-clawed golden dragon glanced at Hui with an extremely arrogant expression. What? Hui was stunned. The one who helped this emperor to transcend the tribulation was Qin Feiyong. And the one who controlled this emperor was also Qin Feiyong. What right do you have to speak? The 5-clawed golden dragon disdained. Hui raised his eyebrows and said, Are you turning your back on me? That's strange. Is this emperor familiar with you? The 5-clawed golden dragon looked at him suspiciously. You're really ruthless. You're more white-eyed wolf than the white-eyed wolf. If it weren't for me, would you have survived? If it weren't for me speaking up for you, would you have gotten the divine body of the golden dragon ancestral dragon? Hui said angrily. That's also because of you. You made this emperor be controlled by Qin Feiyong. As for the divine body of the golden dragon ancestral dragon, this emperor shamelessly asked Qin Feiyang for it. It has nothing to do with you. So, even if this emperor works for you, it will be for Qin Feiyang. It has nothing to do with you. The five-clawed golden dragon snorted coldly. Say that again? Hui raised his eyebrows and said angrily, What? You want to fight? Come. Don't use the heaven-defying divine artifact. See how this emperor will beat you. The five-clawed golden dragon clamored. They were both at the initial level of the immortal realm. As long as they didn't use the heaven-defying divine artifact, who was afraid of who? Hui was furious. After transforming into a five-clawed golden dragon and breaking through to the initial level of the immortal realm, he turned hostile on the spot. Couldn't there be more trust between a human and a dragon? I'm not going to talk nonsense with you. You want this emperor to be your mount? No way. The five-clawed golden dragon snorted coldly, turned into a stream of light, and merged into Qin Feiyang's wrist. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked down and saw the golden dragon coiled around his wrist. It looked like an exquisite golden bracelet. You have no conscience. Hui lamented. If he had known earlier, he would have killed him with a slap in the internal sea. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect that in the end it was him who got a big bargain. Laugh your ass. Hui glared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said loudly, Fire Lotus, someone is scolding you. Fire Lotus walked over and raised her eyebrows. Who's scolding me? Him. Qin Feiyang pointed at Hui. Hui's expression changed and he hurriedly said, Don't talk nonsense. When did I scold her? You're joking. Then my sister is Fire Lotus. If you're not scolding her, then who are you scolding? Qin Feiyang laughed. Bastard, shameless. No wonder even the five-clawed golden dragon would follow you. You're the same kind of trash. Hui gritted his teeth and stared at Qin Feiyang, but when he saw Fire Lotus's unkind eyes, he immediately soared into the sky and fled. That's not right. Why am I running? My current cultivation is stronger than Fire Lotus. I can suppress her with a wave of my hand. Forget it, a good man doesn't fight with a woman. Women were indeed creatures without conscience. How long had she followed Qin Feiyang, this bastard? She actually sided with him. This guy. Fire Lotus shook her head and smiled. Looking at the five-clawed golden dragon on Qin Feiyang's wrist, she said in surprise, It's actually five-clawed? What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Generally, golden dragons have 4 claws. Five-clawed golden dragons are very rare. I guess only the patriarch of the Golden Dragon clan and the ancestral dragon are five-clawed golden dragons. Fire Lotus said with a smile. Qin Feiyang nodded his head, looked at the five-clawed golden dragon on his wrist, and said, I'm a little worried about a problem. What problem? Fire Lotus looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, It has fused with the divine body of the ancestral dragon, so it must more or less carry the aura of the ancestral dragon. When it faces the dragons, will it be discovered by the dragons? It won't. The five-clawed golden dragon's voice sounded. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at the five-clawed golden dragon. After the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, the aura of the ancestral dragon has been completely erased. Now, even if this emperor and the ancestral dragon collide face to face, it won't know that this emperor has fused with its divine body. The five-clawed golden dragon said. Really? Qin Feiyang asked. The five-clawed golden dragon replied. That's good. Qin Feiyang smiled. In this way, he could bring the five-clawed golden dragon out without any scruples. And with the protection of this five-clawed golden dragon, even if he faced the beginner immortal dragons, he would have the confidence. Naturally, not to mention those half-step immortal dragons. Why did the ancient castle leave the power of the heavenly tribulation? At this time, Fire Lotus looked up at the 99 power of the heavenly tribulation in the sky with a trace of suspicion in her eyes. Qin Feiyang looked up and couldn't help but ponder. Could it be? Qin Feiyang's eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of surprise. What is it? Fire Lotus asked. Chapter 2496. Buzz. Suddenly, the image crystal rang. Qin Feiyong took out the image crystal, and 3 shadows quickly appeared. The 3 of them were Jiang Dafei, Li Changhe, and Wang Daoan. Greetings, young lord. Greetings, young master. The 3 of them bowed. You must have been busy during this period of time. Qin Feiyong looked at the 3 of them with a smile. Li Changhe said respectfully, "This is what we should do." Qin Feiyong asked, "Then why are you sending me a message now? Is there a problem?" "You've already given us the list, how could there be any problem? We sent you a message to ask you to come over and take a look." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Look at what?" Qin Feiyong was puzzled. Wang Daoyuan said, "Didn't you say that you want to control everyone? The people on the list have been gathered by us and are waiting for you." "Where?" Qin Feiyong asked. Wang Daoyuan said, "Outside the Holy Dragon City, Black Tortoise Mountain." After saying that, the 3 of them gave Qin Feiyong a few coordinates. "Okay. I'll be right there." Qin Feiyong turned off the image crystal and called Madman out of the cultivation room. Madman's cultivation had already broken through to the lesser stage of the Supreme God realm. It seemed that he had been cultivating in seclusion seriously all these years in the northern region. And a monster like Madman must have entered the Purple Gold Divine Pagoda. The Purple Gold Divine Pagoda also had a time array. The 2 of them left the ancient castle and appeared in the cave abode, preparing to open the altar. Brotherly, a warm laughter sounded, and a figure streaked across the sky like lightning and landed in front of the cave abode. It was Hong Yi. Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned. Why did Hong Yi take the initiative to look for him? Hong Yi walked into the cave abode, looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "Are you guys preparing to go out? There's something I need to deal with." Qin Feiyong nodded. Hong Yi smiled and said, "Then why didn't you call me along?" Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, "These are all trivial matters. There's no need to trouble you." "It's no trouble at all. I'm happy to help." Hong Yi chuckled. Qin Feiyong said, "There's really no need." Now that Madman was here, there was no need to ask Hong Yi for help. This person was very greedy. If this continued, who knew how many benefits he would get from him? Although Qin Feiyong didn't care about these so-called benefits, there was no need to benefit an irrelevant person. "Why has Brotherly become so distant after not seeing you for a while? Who are you talking to?" "Your business is my business," Hong Yi said. Qin Feiyong frowned and nodded with a smile. "All right then. That's right. You don't have to be polite with me. Even if it's just a small matter, I'm happy to help." Hong Yi smiled. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Then let's go. It's still the same old rules." "Same old rules," Hong Yi murmured and didn't immediately send the 2 of them to the spatial divine item. His eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyong looked at him suspiciously. "Brotherly, there's a question I can't figure out. Why do you hide in the spatial divine item every time you enter the Dragon God Palace?" Hong Yi looked at Qin Feiyong curiously. Qin Feiyong's heart skipped a beat and said with a smile, "I don't want to be seen by others, so as to avoid some trouble." "Is that really the case? Why do I feel that there's something else?" Hong Yi smiled. Qin Feiyong and Madman looked at each other and frowned. "What are you trying to say?" "Nothing. Purely curious." "Brotherly, I heard that last time you got a lot of divine weapons and divine arts from the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Divine Art Treasury?" Hong Yi continued to ask and didn't have the slightest intention of taking the 2 of them out of the Dragon God Palace. This is something that everyone knows. There's no need to ask when you already know the answer. Qin Feiyong smiled. "You're really lucky. Brotherly, you can't use all these divine arts and divine weapons by yourself. Why don't you share some with me?" Hong Yi smiled. "Greedy indeed." Qin Feiyong muttered and smiled faintly. "Sorry you're late. I gave them all to the people around me." Hong Yi said, "You didn't give away the Qilin technique and soul-anchoring divine pearl, right?" He didn't believe that this person would be willing to give away supreme divine arts and supreme divine artifacts to the people around him. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "I didn't give them away." "Why?" Hong Yi said, "Then why don't you give them to me?" "Give them to you?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and said in astonishment, "After all this time, you came to me just to ask for the Qilin technique and soul-anchoring divine pearl. You can't say it so harshly. Look, I've also helped you a lot. Let's talk about this madman. He only managed to enter the Dragon God Temple with my help. Shouldn't you repay me? Hong Yi said with a smile. Qin Feiyong also smiled. Madman's smile was even more brilliant. He actually dared to have ideas about them? This courage was really quite admirable. Hong Yi was also fearless and said with a smile, Brother Li, listen to me, harmony brings wealth, this is the right way. Qin Feiyong said, I'm very curious, what is your confidence? Since he had already said it out loud, there was naturally no need to be polite. Confidence. You should know in your heart. Hong Yi said. I don't know. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Do I have to point it out? Fine. I'll fulfill your wish. During this period I've been thinking, why do I have to hide in a spatial artifact every time I enter the Dragon God Palace? Then one day, I suddenly thought of a possibility. It's also the only possibility. You can't freely pass through the entrance. And being unable to pass through the entrance is also a kind of explanation. You're not controlled by the stone of fate. Am I right? Hong Yi smiled. It seems that I've underestimated you. Qin Feiyong said. Is that really the case? Hong Yi was shocked and said in a deep voice, Everyone who enters the Dragon God Palace will be controlled by the stone of fate. Why aren't you? Aren't you very smart? Think about it yourself. Qin Feiyong said. Could it be that young man who snatched the stone of fate from the Dragon God Palace master, and then helped you remove the fate contract? Hong Yi was surprised. You can even guess this, you're indeed smart, I really shouldn't have underestimated you. Qin Feiyong smiled in surprise. I see. Hong Yi nodded and laughed. It's not that you underestimated me, but you overestimated yourself. Yes. So you're going to use this to threaten me, and make me give you the Qilin technique and soul calming pearl? Qin Feiyong said. Then do you think this can threaten you? Hong Yi smiled and asked. No. Qin Feiyong shook his head. No. Hong Yi looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. You've made a very stupid decision, you know? If you can be honest, then I definitely won't make a move on you. But you chose to threaten me. You even want the Paragon technique and artifact. Are you worthy? Qin Feiyong said. Haha, Hong Yi raised his head and laughed. He became more and more fearless and said, I've long known that you killed Wang Darren and the other two, and I also know that you have supreme experts protecting you. Do you think I'll come to you unprepared? Qin Feiyong was stunned and asked suspiciously, What preparation? Before coming, I've already told a friend of mine that if I don't go back alive today, I'll go and find Lord Ancestral Dragon. At that time you should know what the consequences will be, right? Hong Yi said with a smile. Sure. Qin Feiyong nodded. This person was quite smart to be able to plan this step in advance. Give it to me. I promise that we'll live in peace in the future. But there's one more condition, you have to give me some divine pills on time every month. Hong Yi said. You want the Qilin technique and soul calming pearl, and divine pills, aren't you afraid that you can't handle it? Qin Feiyong said. Hong Yi said with a smile, Don't worry, I have a big appetite. No matter how much I want, I can handle it. Is that so? Qin Feiyong looked outside the cave, his eyes flashing slightly, and said helplessly, All right, I'll give it to you, follow me to the space divine object. There's no need for that. Just give it to me here. Hong Yi said. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said, I invited you so kindly, but you actually refused, you're not giving me face. Then tell me, why should I give you face? Hong Yi looked at him mockingly. If you don't give me face, then I definitely won't give you face either. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly, lowered his head to look at the five-clawed golden dragon on his wrist, and said, Cripple him. The five-clawed golden dragon immediately rushed out, and like a golden arrow, it pierced through Hong Yi's chi-si. With a miserable howl, blood suddenly spurted out. At the same time, the five-clawed golden dragon waved its claws, and a divine barrier appeared, sealing off the cave. This way, no matter how much noise was made inside the cave, the outside world would not hear it. Hong Yi felt the dragon might of the five-clawed golden dragon and even forgot to howl. He stared at the golden dragon with a pale face. There was actually a five-clawed golden dragon beside this person. Let me kindly remind you, not only is it a five-clawed golden dragon, it is also a beginner-level immortal realm expert. Madman retreated to the side. leaned against the wall, and looked at Hong Yi playfully. What? Beginner-level immortal realm? Hong Yi's body and mind trembled. The five-clawed golden dragon said contemptuously, "This emperor has never seen someone as stupid as you, actually daring to come and threaten us." Hong Yi was terrified and roared, "Li Bu Air, think carefully. If you dare to kill me, my friend will definitely find Lord Ancestral Dragon. Even now, you're still threatening me. Calling you an idiot is already praising you. If I'm not wrong, your friend is now in your space divine object." Qin Feiyong laughed. "You?" Hong Yi looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. "Do you want to say how would I know?" Actually, this is very simple because even if your friend went to find the Ancestral Dragon, that's just a one-sided story. Would the Ancestral Dragon believe it? Of course not. So, you must get evidence before you can really threaten me in the future. If you want to get evidence, you must get close to me. How can you get close to me? Of course, by hiding in your space divine object. You are outside, deliberately provoking me and making me say the reason. This way, the friend hiding in your space divine object can use the image crystal to record it without anyone knowing. Am I right? Qin Feiyong laughed. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.